most especially our events manager, Olivia Kurtz, as well as Amanda First and Monica Whitstock. Thank you all. Okay, now a few logistical details before we begin. Please be sure that all your phones are turned off and put away. I encourage you to take a minute to check now and confirm you've done so. Okay. Note that this session is being recorded, and it will be rebroadcast online, and it is open to our friends in the media. We have solicited questions in advance from our law students, and Professor Stein will turn to a representative sample of those questions toward the end of the conversation today. And finally, after we conclude today's event, please join us in the lobby for refreshments. Our host for this event will be Professor Robert Stein, a bulwark of the law school who has devoted his talents to us for most of the last 60 years. Bob is currently the Everett Frazier Professor of Law, a member of the American Law Institute, and one of Minnesota's commissioners on the Uniform Law Commission. But he started his life at Minnesota Law as a student in the class of 1961. Over 50 years ago, he joined our faculty and steadily built a national reputation as a scholar and teacher, focusing at first on trusts, estates, and probate law. He then served as a vice president of the university and was dean of the law school for 15 years, during which we saw significant growth and development. In 1994, Professor Stein became the executive director of the American Bar Association, where he came to know many of the nation's leading judges and attorneys in person. His tenure at the ABA was also characterized by his intensive focus on the importance of the rule of law, legal education, and strong civic institutions as guarantors of rights and freedoms both in the US and around the world. In 2006, Bob rejoined our faculty, where he created and taught one of the first courses on the rule of law in any law school, a model now widely imitated across the country. In addition to all his distinguished service, and there's a lot, Bob and his wife Sandy also have been generous donors to the law school, including their endowment of this very lecture series. We have a number of members of the Stein family here with us today, as I mentioned. Please join me in thanking Bob and Sandy and their family for their support and for enabling all of us to be together here today. The focus of the Stein Lecture Series is a suitable tribute to the work of Bob Stein's life. This series is designed to bring distinguished leaders and jurists to our campus, to engage with varied perspectives, and to advance our understanding of the institutions and the traditions that reinforce the rule of law. At a time of acute polarization, amid serious threats to those norms of the rule of law, we desperately need that kind of dialogue more than ever. Through events like the Stein Lecture, we can promote the open exchange of ideas, including constructive disagreement, and that's what sustains the rule of law. This afternoon, we are observing the rules of decorum that the law school has long employed when judges and other distinguished guests visit. Those rules were posted at the doors when you came in. The University of Minnesota honors free speech and the expression rights of our community members. However, demonstrations or disruptive activities are not permitted during presentations. Learning about the varied perspectives of judges and other legal decision makers is an essential part of our core academic mission here at the law school. I expect that everyone inside the auditorium will remain mindful of this mission, and no one will interfere with the rights of our students to see, hear, and benefit from today's educational opportunity. As President Ettinger noted, we have heard from many justices of the Supreme Court in past installments of the Stein Lecture, with many different perspectives. I have had the pleasure of attending all of them, and each time I came away with new insights. I expect today will be the same as we welcome Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Justice Barrett was born in New Orleans, the oldest of 7 children. She attended Rhodes College and the University of Notre Dame Law School, where she graduated first in her class. After a clerkship with Justice Scalia and some time in private practice, Justice Barrett returned to her alma mater, Notre Dame Law, and joined the faculty in 2002. In her academic career, she became a recognized scholar of constitutional law and statutory interpretation, as well as receiving the Distinguished Teacher of the Year award 3 times. In 2017, Justice Barrett was appointed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit, and 3 years later, the Senate confirmed her nomination to the United States Supreme Court. Justice Barrett and her husband have 7 children. Justice Barrett, thank you for visiting us today and sharing your thoughts with all of us. We are looking forward to an insightful and wide-ranging conversation. And now, please join me in welcoming United States Supreme Court Associate Justice Amy Coney Barrett.
Oh my god, they're cheering for me. How kind of them. I was not expecting bro to give like a fucking 10-minute intro. Sorry. That's like... Jesus Christ, he spoke for so long. I guess I should have skipped to this part. My bad. I'm really interested by how little I know about Amy Coney Barrett because she's an L1. Well, I know that they appointed her because she was going to get rid of Roe v. Wade.
So anyway,
Good afternoon, Justice Barrett. So delighted you're here.
I'm delighted to be here, Professor Stein. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for coming, especially in the first 2 weeks of the current term of the court that began the first Monday in October. How's it going this year?
It's good so far. We're 6 arguments in, so we're on a 2-week in between our sessions. So we finished oral arguments last week, and now it will be 2 weeks of reading briefs to prepare for the next round.
Well, we're delighted that you're here for so many reasons. You grew up in New Orleans, the other end of the Mississippi.
I did.
And I think you said there's a family connection to the University of Minnesota. Can you tell us about that?
I did. Professor Stein did not know this when he invited me, so I don't think it was the reason he invited me. But my brother actually went to the U. So it's not my first time visiting campus. So he lived in a rental house in Dinkytown, so I went and visited him there when he was here.
All right. Well, I know that you know something about the university when you say the U. That means Minnesota. I'd like to start asking questions by asking a question about your undergraduate college. As the Dean McGovern said, you received your undergraduate degree from Rhodes College in Memphis, which is a superb school there. And I noted several years ago, Justice Abe Fortas graduated from that college, although it was then, I think, called the Memphis College of Law, if I'm not mistaken. Were you aware that a Supreme Court justice had graduated from your undergraduate school? And did you think at all about the Supreme Court at that time?
I didn't know that I wanted to be a lawyer at that time. So I had some vague awareness that Justice Fortas had once upon a time gone to Rhodes College. It was then Southwestern College, which he attended. Yeah. I was an English literature major in college, and I minored in French. And I thought a lot about going on to get a PhD in English and becoming an English professor. I also thought about teaching high school English. I also thought about going to law school, but it wasn't until I was a senior and I was really, down to decision-making time that I decided to go to law school.
And you made the decision to go to Notre Dame from where you graduated. As a graduate of Notre Dame Law School, you're the only current justice to graduate from a law school other than Harvard or Yale, and the only justice to graduate from a law school other than Harvard, Yale, or Columbia since Justice Sandra Day O'Connor joined the court from Stanford in 1981. Why do you think this is so, and do you think it's a good thing?
Let's see. I think it's a neutral thing, and I mean,
Guy, Zoran,
I love all my colleagues and would never criticize their own.
So many windows running. Don't worry about it. This computer can handle it all. It's doing so well. Not even freaking. Alright, I'm gonna start watching, I said this in Discord. I'm gonna start watching Asmongold and taking notes on the talking points because it's so difficult to counteract misinformation when you don't even know what the source of it is, and it's so easy to deconstruct when you know where it's all coming from.
I think that's how I say his name. I don't know. I've never heard his name spoken. And ended up winning the New York City mayor primary, which, I mean, New York Cities are really popular. It's like, you know, the most famous city probably in America. And so, you know, this is like pretty much nation news. You know, a lot of the things that like he represents, things that he says, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of it, but there are things that I do like. Like, for example, he's young. I think that this is the way that a lot of guys that are my age feel. And like any of you guys that are like around, you know, my age, tell me if you feel this way. We are sick of having the fucking some 70, 80, 60-year-old guy running everything. Like, and also they do it wrong. They do it fucking wrong. These people don't understand computers and they want to go ahead and run the country. No, you need to understand how to use your smartphone. Nope, I'm out. Maybe he'll lose the general election, but New York City's pretty Democrat, and so this guy's pretty much locked in to be the new mayor, right? But I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, so we'll look at a few comments about this. I think also the guy's really charismatic. He's got a great smile. He's photogenic, etc. And I mean, look, yeah, he looks like a trustworthy, nice guy. Also, there's clips like this. This is a really good example of the reason why Zoran won. And take a look at this right here.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr.
You got my vote. There it is.
Oh, wait. What? So he likes Mamdani? That's kind of tea. No, I see that. It's like a lefty thing.
Well, don't even pretend. They don't even pretend. They're not even trying. They're openly saying, yes, we're going to go over to Israel. Yeah, sorry, guys, but he's horrible? Good. Okay, so then, and they should listen to this. You think this guy's so horrible? Okay, then stop putting up people that put Israel ahead of the United States. Yeah, all right, because as a show of force, I would rather vote for somebody who is fucking horrible. I would rather flip the fucking board over. I would rather vote for a fucking a crackhead under a bridge than stay inside of the little tiny fucking narrow, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Sorry about my voice, guys.
What? Oh my god.
Put Israel ahead of the United States. Yeah, all right, because as a show of force, I would rather vote for somebody who is fucking horrible. I would rather flip the fucking board over. I would rather vote for a fucking a crackhead.
Vote.
under a bridge than stay inside of the little tiny fucking narrow damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Sorry about my voice, guys. I'm running on empty, guys. I'm gonna be totally real. I've had a stressful week, and it's probably gonna keep being stressful. It's rough. And so anyway, speaking of crack, there you go. And anyway, so elect a terrorist? Yes. As a show of force and as a show of what's the word? Of protest. Yes. Yes. That's right. That's right. We're so sick of this that we will elect a terrorist. That's right. That was my viewpoint with Trump. That was. And like...
What? He's calling this guy a terrorist? For what? It's not because he's brown, because he's like going off right now that he's not... that he said that he wasn't going to go to Israel, right? Like that's a good thing right now. What is he a terrorist for?
Yes, well, what? That's right. Because again, and no. It's a show of defiance. It is a show of defiance. It is a protest vote. It is a fuck you. It is a no, I'm not going to sit inside of this little box that you put me in. I'm going to go off the fucking rails. And unless you want to follow me, you're going to lose.
I'm just going to be contrarian, just to be contrarian. Okay.
And the thing is that it's a show of ignorance. Good. Good. Hopefully they listen this time. Stop giving us shitty candidates. Stop giving us shitty candidates that prioritize Israel over New York City. New York City is a fucking PvP server. There's crazy people everywhere in New York City. There's illegal migration constantly. There's what is it? There's rent problems. Nobody can afford to live there. People are having their shit stolen constantly. All of this stuff, it's Gotham. Like everybody knows, New York City was based off of Gotham fucking City, right? Or sorry, Gotham City was based off of New York City. And that's the Batman city where everything goes wrong. And so the fact is, no, absolutely not. And my NYC is watch Eric Adams' interview talking about this guy. Yeah, I will. And who's truly ignorant there? And the people who are, it's not about being ignorant. It's about showing defiance against a system that intentionally disenfranchises you and creates a false dichotomy between different people that will not give you any results. And at a certain point, in my opinion...
Are you really reading the entire 900-page bill? Yeah, not in one shot. I'm jumping around, but I outlined all of it, and I do intend on reading the whole thing at some point, throughout the course. This is my logic. It seems worthless because it's 900 pages. I didn't read all of Project 2025 because that seemed worthless because it wasn't actually going to get implemented exactly the way that it's written. This is literally exactly, this is getting signed into law. This is what we have. This is everything that's gonna get implemented and carried out in the next however many years that this shit get it seems super worth it to see what they actually snuck in here, what they actually prioritized. And I also love the idea of being able to tell people that I probably read more of the bill than most senators did.
And I think the only way to play is to flip the fucking board over and say, fuck you. So an anarchist? Absolutely.
What?
It's about showing defiance against a system that intentionally disenfranchises you and creates a false dichotomy between different people that will not give you any results. And at a certain point, in my opinion, I think the only way to play is to flip the fucking board over and say, fuck you. So an anarchist? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I would rather live in anarchy than managed, controlled tyranny occupied by a foreign nation, slowly declining into feudalism. No. No.
Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel?
So look at this shit. What the fuck is wrong with you?
As mayor?
I will be doing as the mayor.
And I want to reiterate, I don't agree with this guy on a lot of things. I don't like a lot of things this guy represents. But that doesn't matter.
Standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs.
Do you remember what I said before about how I always vote for the most disruptive candidate? Whoever will cause the most problems, whoever will destabilize the system the most, that's who I vote for.
What the actual fuck is wrong with you? Oh my god, I don't even... How is that even a thought that people, are okay with, expressing without shame? How do you feel comfortable saying that? I'm going to vote for whoever is going to cause the most ruckus in power. Okay. Like, I see life as a video game, actually. I actually don't see any real-world consequences as having any actual, like, real-world effects and impacting any real-world lives. I actually see everyone around me as an NPC, and I think it would just be really fucking cool if they just, like, went around and just, like, set shit on fire. Like, okay.
Because I think the system needs to be destabilized, because I think that it is, the stabilization of the system is done in a way that is, you know, bad. He's the literal opposite of your whole politics. I know. That's my point. Yes. That's the whole point.
That's in their synagogues and temples, or at their homes, or the subway.
That's not a smart way of thinking. You see, a lot of people, and I understand your point of view, and I respect your point of view, but that's not the point of view that I want to live by. My personal opinion is that choosing the lesser of two evils.
I'm actually gonna steal that line. I respect your point of view. I acknowledge your point of view. But that is actually just not the point of view that I want to live by.
You see, a lot of people, and I understand your point of view, and I respect your point of view, but that's not the point of view that I want to live by. My personal opinion is that choosing the lesser of two evils, it seems to me, this is just the way I feel, it seems to me that the lesser of two evils becomes more evil every time. Just over time. You know, if it...
How could you possibly know that by virtue of the fact that you chose the lesser of two evils? Like, just by definition, it does not become more evil. By definition, is the lesser of the two evils. By definition, you don't even know how evil the more evil one would have been if you chose the... What?
You know, maybe like 20 years ago, it was more reasonable, and it becomes more and more and more evil, and the other one becomes worse and worse and worse. You're still choosing evil, right? Exactly. And so chat's getting mad when you don't even live in New York. Yeah, this guy's better than Cuomo by a long shot. Cuomo's a proven corrupt politician. Exactly. People don't understand that after electing the guy, it's going to make people more...
Wouldn't... If you actually wanted to, like, cause anarchy, wouldn't you put Cuomo in to be, like, go back to being corrupt and groping women? Like, wouldn't that be what you wanted?
Happy with Republicans? Yeah.
Unless you just want increased anti-Semitism in New York. Is Asmongold, like, one of those neo-Nazi types? Does he even care about that shit?
Yeah, and again... And I know this is probably going to be very surprising for people to hear, like, and again, I don't even really, like, it's a protest vote, basically. And I think a lot of people should embrace that. And here's one thing to keep in mind, that all of the establishment politics and everything establishment media, the one thing that they are more afraid of than anything is a person like me, who is willing to flip the board over, throw things into chaos, ruin everything, and just say, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. Because I'm so sick and tired of this bullshit.
Platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
Do you see this? Listen to this.
As the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers and I'll be meeting them wherever... No,
as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
So this is it. They asked him which place that he would visit first, and then he says he'd stay in New York to make New York better, and then they ask him a question that's like, do you believe in the Jewish state of Israel? They're trying to catch him in something that's going to make him look bad. They're trying to misrepresent him. And again, hopefully you guys respect it. It's so obvious. It's so...
I was listening to this Ezra Klein podcast earlier today, and it actually articulated this so well. But like in the past, Republicans usually just go after old people. When they wanna hate people, they attack old people, and it's fine because old people usually vote more like Democratic, and that makes sense. But now they're just attacking poor people, and it doesn't make any sense because they have so many poor voters. It was like literally right in the beginning.
Heavily on poor people specifically, rather than on the elderly, which was sort of the Paul Ryan version of this. And I think it's a really underplayed aspect because Trump has actually gained a lot more support from low-income voters than Republicans had in the past. He's changed really the image of the party with regard to how it relates to lower-income people, but the policy is incredibly unfavorable to them. So this is a bit...
Like... Anyways, I like that they added this new tax deduction just for anyone over the age of 65. And if you have a spouse over the age of 65, then you also just get $6,000. Cool. Okay. Oh shit, what do you say about this?
Apparently, Texas is underwater. Look at this.
All right, we now want to focus on the rescue mission. And joining us now from the U.S. Coast Guard Air Station in Corpus Christi is Lieutenant Ian Hopper, AMT-3 Seth Reeves, Lieutenant Blair Ogujifor, and AST-3 Scott Ruskin.
Thank you all so much
all around the world, for joining us and for helping out in this mission to find these 23 young little girls and the families who are also impacted by the storm. So, Lieutenant Hopper, I'll start with you. How is the Coast Guard responding to this flood in Texas right now?
Morning. Yeah. So primarily we're using our helicopter assets. So the MH-65 Echo is primarily a maritime search and rescue asset, so we're used to going offshore. But right now we are using it for inland search and rescue. So operating
today, like I've received like 5 like Amber Alert.
And then you used to get 6% less if you're making more than 75,000. That's like nothing. For a senior, if you are like at that age in your life and you're only making 70, well, okay, I guess your income, what would you even, it would just be passive income at that point. That's like not a lot of money for it to start decreasing that soon. It's confusing.
Warnings on my phone. I've gotten a lot of them today.
Using our hoist capability or just landing and picking people up and transiting them.
It's flooding? Yeah, there's a lot of rain now.
Dolphin.
So like 8, I don't know who's best to answer this question, but you all figure that out. You know, obviously you look at the video, you see these incredible floodwaters, you see the incredible efforts to rescue people, and hundreds of people have been rescued. What are the additional complications that you all have to deal with that you have to you know, obviously you have a lot of people who want, you know, civilians who...
Maybe there's a shift where he does have poor voters, but they're less educated. Trump can take advantage of them with his rhetoric while implementing policy that hurts them. True. That is hurting the people they hate rather than themselves, so they view themselves as deserving, while the undeserving face those issues implemented by the person they vote for. Very true. You can't do that as well with the broad population of older people because there's a variety of education within them. Yeah. Checks out. Yeah. I hate that stupid Nazi poem that they always reference, where it's like, they came for the socialists and I said nothing because I wasn't a socialist, and then they came for the Jews and I said nothing because I wasn't a Jew, and then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me, or whatever the fuck that is, right? It's just like that mentality of like, oh, but they would never hurt me. It's like, Trump's an asshole and Trump's evil, but he's not evil to me. He's not an asshole to me. And if he is, it's only because he was trying to help me. He had the best of intentions.
Who want to help out, but you don't want them to get in the way. What are the additional complications that you want to kind of warn civilians about not getting in your way?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different complications. Primarily, a lot of civilians are
look at that.
Where we were all operating on the same frequency when we were flying. Additional complications would be so Scott here. He's our rescue swimmer. In the,
the floodgate just fell down.
Additional complications would be so Scott here. He's our
That's about right.
He, you can explain a little bit.
Kind of what's going on the ground. Yeah. A lot of times what's happening is everyone wants to do as much as they can to help out, and we truly appreciate that. But sometimes they don't always have the best communication. So the biggest thing is just trying to pass stuff off to the higher level of care. Pass it up the food chain about who's where, who needs help.
Holy shit!
And then you can get like a government agency out there to try to help.
24 dead, at least 23 kids missing. That is insane.
As fast as we can, and then we can triage from there and kind of get people to safety. But most important thing is staying out of the river. Super dangerous. Keep yourself safe before you put yourself in a more dangerous situation.
Flash flood.
When we look at this current scenario with nearly 24 young girls that are missing, what scenario exists that they can be found alive? Have they, could they have just been swept away and they're, hanging onto a tree? Is there
Can't people just swim? No, because so a lot of people don't understand how powerful currents are, and people think that it's just like water. But if you look at even an elite swimmer trying to swim against certain types of water, they're not even remotely close. They just can't do it. It's devastating. I know people don't understand the power and the force of water. It pulls you under. Yeah, it just and that's these are Olympics level swimmers, right?
Scenario you see where they can be found alive?
Not even they can survive it.
That's of course that's a hard question to ansser, but ultimately there's multiple assets, crews out there, both Coast Guard. You've got the Army out there. You've got DPS, the Department of Public Safety for Texas. So we're giving everyone the best chance that they've got, and really working as a team in Texas here to give anyone who's still out there the best shot.
Yeah.
Peace Good debate with an Indian MAGA Twitter dude. He lives in Texas, so they're arguing this very specific thing. Like the missing kids thing?
Lieutenant,
ultimately, there's multiple assets, crews out there, both Coast Guard, you've got the Army out there, you've got DPS, the Department of Public Safety for Texas. So we're giving everyone the best chance that they've got, and really working as a team in Texas here to give anyone who's still out there the best shot.
Yeah,
Lieutenant, found it too confident. I mean, realistically, a lot of the people that are lost are dead. I mean, they're dead. Like, that's just, I mean, realistically, it's sad to say, but like, I mean, if you're a kid, like, how the fuck are you going to survive out there? Maybe 1 out of the 23 survives. I would say if 5 out of the 23 survived, I would be like shocked. It's like a miracle.
For anybody else, you could chime in.
God, that's. Oh my god. Okay, hang on. Wait. So I just, in case you guys weren't here yesterday, I made a Perplexity space where I just uploaded the bill, like the bill as a PDF. And so it has all of like the clauses and all of like the past whatever. I've been asking it like to explain specific like paragraphs, clauses, questions or whatever, to help because I'm not a lawyer. So anyways, I was reading this. Omission of correct social security number treated as mathematical or clerical error. That just seems like a strange thing to like be adding. Amended by striking and whatever. An omission of a correct social security number required under section related to deductions gets effective, okay? But I don't know what like these clauses are under section blah 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 blah. So I asked it to my Perplexity. What this is amending is making it so that now the IRS is charging or is treating omission or incorrect like social security number as a clerical error, meaning that they could just deny a notice without telling you or without giving you the chance to like correct it. A formal deficiency notice or audit process. Streamlining enforcement and reducing administrative burden, but effectively making it so that anyone who makes any mistakes on their forms just gets automatically denied with no mercy. And it's old people. These people don't know how to fill out forms. I think they also made it so that like you have to go, like they cut down the phone numbers, right? Like this was all of the technical support that people were using. It's like really fucked.
The stories as well, if you've heard them, but what are some of the stories that people are telling you who you have rescued? What are they saying about their experience?
So personally, I haven't been able to speak with anyone. I know we landed yesterday, and then we also had to take the new crews out to give them a fam flight of the area. But some of our crews that stayed back, they did get to see a couple of the girls that we actually took in our aircraft. You know, reunited with their families. So I know, and folks at the hotel too, they had a mother who approached them and was like, "Thank you so much. My daughter is alive because you guys were able to assist her today." So, I mean, I can only imagine that they're grateful.
I don't have much minimal empathy for people that don't listen to emergency warnings. It's easy to say that, but like, you have to keep in mind that these are kids. And so like, really, these kids are going to be at the mercy of their parents' decision making.
Hang on. Also, your boy cut off emergency warnings, no? Am I lying? Like, this is from Fox News. Like,
Our senior correspondent, Mike Tobin,
is
on the ground in Kerrville. He has the latest for us there.
Like, the oh my god, I think everyone should have to take a stats class. Do we understand correlation causation? do we
So even if the kids are, you know, not listening to the emergency warnings, that's really probably the parents that aren't listening. And so I wouldn't blame that on the kids.
Yeah, like vaccines.
Yeah, it's just not. And also, there's a lot of flash floods and things like this that can happen really fast too. It was a summer camp.
We were picking up folks, have, you know, young girls who were asking, you know, about if we knew where their siblings were, and you know, at that point, we're just trying to get and help those who we can assist. And yeah, just praying and hoping that folks are able to get reunited with their families.
So Scott, when you do, when
the fact is, like, a lot of people always try to find like some sort of person who's at fault. Sometimes bad shit just happens, man. There's no conspiracy. There's no mistake. Sometimes bad shit just happens.
Hear from people that need rescuing. What is the most common way that, do you just find them, or are people able to reach out with phones? And what's the most common way that they contact you to let you know that they need help?
Yeah, as far as right now, we've been getting our tasking from higher up, mostly from the Army as of right now. But a lot of it's just been large states triaging. So we were
crazy that they actually filmed the flood sign falling down.
Probably got about 200 people out of there alone. And it was just, we just saw a huge crowd of about 200 kids at a campsite. So we're like, cool, that's where we're going to go. And we're just going to get as many people out as we can until they were all gone. We got them all out yesterday at Mystic. So
huge fucking W.
Listen, first and foremost, we know this isn't easy for you all. You're doing God's work out there, and sometimes the results aren't what you want them to be. It's rescue and recovery. And we just want you to know we're praying for you, and we thank God every day that there are people like you out there who are willing to show up and do this, even on the tough days. So thank you so much.
God bless you all.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this shit is fucking insane. Let me see if I can show and get this, and let me see if I can.
We got another $200 for the tax credits. Yay!
Show them and pull this up.
The flood started getting bigger, and it was going up to, we have bunk beds in our cabins, and it was going up to the top bunk, and we had one choice, and we had to swim out of our cabins.
Under an hour?
Campers from Camp La Junta lucky to be alive this morning after they say they had to swim out of their cabins during flash floods in Kerr County. That camp just a few miles up the Guadalupe River from Camp Mystic. That's where more than 20 campers are still missing this morning. Thanks for waking up with us on this.
Yeah, we've only had this happen, like in where I'm at, we've only had this happen one time.
Kerr County, but other counties near the San Antonio area. This is new video here you're looking at.
San Antonio is about 45 or so minutes away from Austin. It's actually quite close. And Guadalupe River, that's the river, I think, that's the one in San Marcos that people usually go tubing in that are from Texas State. It's a pretty popular place. Anybody in Austin probably has either been there if they grew up as like a young adult in Austin. They've been there. Yeah, and so it's a 2-hour drive. I thought it was a little bit, yeah, that's the river. Oh, is it the river? Yeah, well, either way.
Way through. How is that a problem for me to tweet that?
I just think it's disingenuous. Like, I think that you're only using it as a point to, score for your side.
What the?
Have like videos that are like 3 hours long, but just working on that to try to get my opinions out there, because I know not everyone will agree with them, but I know that there's a couple people out there that will agree with me, and so if I could speak for them, I could speak for myself. That'd be pretty cool.
100%. So I appreciate that, and we're done with the pleasantries because I'm going to talk shit. What the fuck are you on about? So I issue a tweet that says, quote, "These people literally cut federal disaster funding, and now all they can do is word salad, peak incompetence." That's a response to Kristi Noem saying, FEMA's being enhanced right now. They're going to be, an important role when the administration is talking about like cutting FEMA and ending FEMA. And so how could you possibly say that it would be irresponsible or wrong for me to tweet out blatant incompetence for the administration now claiming to like support FEMA when they're attacking FEMA the entire way through? How is that a problem for me to tweet that?
I just think it's disingenuous. Like, I think that you're only using it as a...
This is cutting off. Obviously, we're so far removed from this. We're so far removed from anyone caring about this. But that's messed up that they're only issuing Social Security cards to citizens. Like, they're only counting Social Security cards that are issued to citizens and not like green card holders or temporary long-term residents. That's fucked. So now if you're a green card holder on your pathway to citizenship and you want to get a child tax credit, you won't be able to. And I know we're so far removed from anyone caring about that, but that's really fucked up. That's really fucked up for everyone that's just trying to do the right thing, getting on the wait list, doing everything right, paying their taxes. That's fucked.
Point to, score for your side. And it's like, okay, personally, like, I'd like to tell you my feelings about FEMA. I think that FEMA is, I wouldn't say that they're horrible because they're trying to help, but it is a system that it's not very good. I've been through Hurricane Harvey, I've been through multiple floods, and I've seen how FEMA operates. Even whenever Hurricane Harvey hit over Houston, no one predicted, we knew that we were going to get hit by a hurricane, but we thought that it was going to keep on moving. No one thought that it was just going to sit there and hover over Houston for as long as it did, which is what caused a lot of the damage. But man, I was out there in my John boat helping people, and then I'm just watching FEMA boats, even Houston police officers on really nice boats just patrolling the area. They weren't helping anybody.
Okay, but your lived experience, your lived experience can't like represent what FEMA does overall. So you're saying I didn't see anyone getting help from FEMA. That that's silly. FEMA helps people.
You're saying okay, so the big beautiful bill got passed yesterday? Yeah. And when did the federal funding for the weather service get cut?
Oh no. Wait a second. So you think that my criticism is about the big beautiful bill funding level and that this is related to that?
No, I think that they cut FEMA. You said that they cut FEMA and the weather station.
Oh my god! I love... There's nothing quite as satisfying as seeing someone who's stupid think that they're smart and realize in real time that they have no clue what they're talking about. Like, you can so tell this guy had such a specific line that he wanted Fiska to go down.
The area, they weren't helping anybody.
Okay, but your lived experience, your lived experience can't like represent what FEMA...
What if the green card holder is married to a U.S. citizen and filing jointly? We won't still get the tax credit. I think if you have I think it's just one parent. If you guys are married, then it's just a spouse if you're filing jointly. Yeah, or in the case of a joint return, the social security number of at least one spouse. So that's like the same thing that they're doing kind of with the birthright citizenship, where it's like if you have one parent that's a citizen, then you're fine. But like, what's it called? I'm trying to think. I don't want to get too like alarmist or like scary, but like this could be a trap if they're going into courthouses when people are doing like their final interviews to get citizenship. Like if you're filing your social security and you're married to someone that's here undocumented, because you can get married to someone undocumented, you're basically telling on them when you file your tax return, but they're making you tell on them in order for you to get the tax credit. For if you want the tax credit, you have to put down that you're married to them, and then you're also kind of telling on yourself that you're married to someone that's here illegally. So it's kind of like, I don't know if that would be like, I don't know how that would work.
FEMA does overall. So you're saying I didn't see anyone getting help from FEMA. That that's silly. FEMA helps people.
You're saying okay, so the big beautiful bill got passed yesterday? Yeah. And when did the federal funding for the weather service get cut?
Oh no. Wait a second. So you think that my criticism is about the big beautiful bill funding level and that this is related to that?
No, I think that they cut FEMA. You said that they cut FEMA and the weather station funding, and that's your critique.
Months ago.
When did that happen?
Yeah, so they cut like something like 600 to 700 jobs from National Weather Service.
And you think that would have prevented what happened in Kerrville?
Listen. What I'm telling you is this.
2 hours away from me.
What I'm telling you is this. The Texas emergency official, this emergency chief guy, he's saying that the reason that they have these problems is because the forecast was fucked up. Months ago, Elon Musk and others from Doge cut hundreds of jobs from the National Weather Service, and every living member of the National Weather Service said, this is dangerous. It's very, very, very dangerous. And now your Texas state officials are saying that part of the problem is, one of the big problems is that the forecasts were fucked up. So why can't I bring that to your attention? Why is that a problem? Why is that me scoring points?
When something like that happens, they need someone to blame.
Oh my God.
Our weather system across all of America, you think all the tornadoes that happen in Oklahoma, you think that they can predict those?
Yes! What? Oh my God! 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 You think the people people that cut into your chest, you think they just know how to not kill you? You think that you can just like put a knife into someone and they just know how to not kill you? You think that's okay? Oh my god, like what? Oh my god, anything that I don't physically, anything that I don't wholly comprehend just has to be impossible and a conspiracy around me. You think that they can actually figure out how the wind goes spinny spin?
But I asked you a question. Why is that me scoring points?
When something like that happens, they need someone to blame.
But, oh my god.
Our weather system across all of America, you think all the tornadoes that happen in Oklahoma, you think that they can predict those?
But I asked you a question.
Okay, no, listen to me.
So who's being disingenuous? Who's being disingenuous? The state officials.
The water went up 26 feet in 40 minutes. If you're out there at the Guadalupe River, where you might not even...
Oh my god. It's okay to be stupid. It's okay to be stupid. Not everyone has to be smart. There are other good qualities to have. There are other good qualities out there. You don't have to pretend to be smart. It's okay.
Even get service. What are you going to get pinged at 4 o'clock in the morning and be able to evacuate by 7?
Listen, so who you saying is disingenuous?
It's just common sense here.
So who's disingenuous? So you're saying that your Texas state officials,
your whole brand is disingenuous, bro. Your whole brand is disingenuous. You do not care.
Your mom
about anything except scoring points for your side.
That's fucking false.
That is my main point. You don't give a damn about those people in Kerrville.
You're peeking.
You don't give. It is not okay to be that stupid. It is if you admit it. That it is as long as you're aware. If you are a retard and you go out there and this is gonna get offensive. If you're really dumb and you don't know anything about anything, and you go out and you're broadcasting that, all power to you, okay? If you want to wear the dunce cap, respect. My issue comes when you start putting on glasses and trying to teach college because the establishment never knew anything anyways.
You're peeking, by the way. Just careful. Like, I don't know what you're going to say.
Just letting you know.
Okay, listen. So you're telling me, right? When I see the Texas state, your state officials, right, the ones that you guys vote for, saying that the Weather Service fucked up their forecast and that's the reason for all, like, a bunch of the shit that's happening that's wrong, you're telling me they're being disingenuous. The Texas state officials are lying. Is that what you're saying?
I'm telling you that you're being disingenuous. I'm asking you not that first. Them. I'm telling you.
So wait. So first I want to ask you that question.
I said that you're a disingenuous piece of shit. I didn't say that they were a disingenuous piece of shit.
Are they telling the truth? Wait, no, because if they're accurate, right, then my critique goes through, right? If they're accurate about the problem and I'm like, hey, they're saying this is a problem, that critique goes through, doesn't it?
I don't give a...
That's so cheap. They just automatically round down, even if it's over 50. Why?
Damn, I'm going on Monday to go deliver water bottles and food.
God. So you're virtue signaling right now. You're virtue signaling.
No, I'm going to go help. You're on Twitter trying to farm likes, engagement, farming Elon Musk sucking his dick after you were criticizing him 2 weeks ago.
Wait a second.
Get the fuck out of here.
Wait a second. So you're saying that I should not critique the government? You want me to critique the government?
I don't give a damn what you do. Okay, so you can critique what you want, but I can call you
You clearly do.
I can call you a disingenuous piece of shit.
Yeah,
you can critique the government.
So I'm bringing you on.
Welcome to the end of the argument.
I'm bringing you on to discuss it, right?
This is what's wrong with, like, online. Like, people like this shouldn't be engaged. Like, do you hear him? Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I'm just gonna be mad about it anyways in my little corner, and I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want. But okay, so go do that in your room while you're jacking off to Donald Trump's speech. Like, you don't have to. I assume this guy's, like, active on Twitter. Like, you don't have to pretend to be cool about it. You don't have to broadcast it. You don't, like, obviously you care. Obviously it's bothering you. Obviously you feel some type of way about it, babe. Like,
to have an actual discussion about your critique of me. And it seems like you don't want to engage in it. You're like, I can call you disingenuous and you can't question it. Because right now, you don't really want to get into the weeds about
It's like the literal equivalent of like la 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 la. I can't hear you. I know you are, but what am I?
Disingenuous.
What do you mean?
You are
I'm trying to break that apart.
Person.
So what
you are a one party.
So what is the substantiation? What is the substantiation for the fact that I'm being disingenuous by calling out the administration for their blatant hypocrisy? Like, in what sense is that disingenuous for calling out blatant hypocrisy? Why is that disingenuous to do?
I said that you are a disingenuous person. You do not care about the weather service. You don't care about FEMA. You don't care about people dying.
I was calling it out months ago. I was calling it out months ago. There's tweets of me calling it out. Yeah,
yes, because you criticize anything that this administration does.
No, because
you don't care what they do. They can cure cancer, and you're gonna find a way to criticize them.
So this is the fucking cry bullying shit, right? So we on the front end, So on the front end, we're critiquing. We're saying this is dangerous what you guys are doing. This is like really, really dangerous. So on the front end, we're warning, right? We're warning, and you're saying, oh, that's never gonna happen, never gonna happen. And then it happens, and then a member of your own party, your own official saying this is a problem, and we're like, hey, it looks like you guys are being hypocritical, and now you're like, oh my God, you're just virtue signaling for points. So when can we actually critique the administration in a way that wouldn't be virtue signaling?
We can.
Okay.
After these people, they're still...
We can. Just not right now. Just not right now, not ever. Just don't ask me about it. Offset. What was the... Was this how the child tax credit worked before? Because sometimes I give myself Trump derangement syndrome where I'm just like, oh my God, everything that he did is evil, and I forget that people were like bitches before that.
People out there.
Wait,
there's still people out there in trees.
So do you remember when Biden was in charge?
Remember
when Biden was in charge and the hurricanes hit North Carolina and they hit Florida, and every single member of your party, including the president, the former president of the United States, the current now president of the United States, Donald Trump, was talking shit about Joe Biden in the minute while people were still dying, people were still looking. So you didn't have a problem with it then, did you?
No.
Yeah, you have a problem because you're a fucking tool. Because it's all a projection. You didn't have a problem when Trump was calling out Biden for the emergencies back when it was happening. Even when Biden was like going to meet with DeSantis, being like entirely respectful, and even DeSantis was saying like he's doing a good job. We got everything we need.
Whether it's the Trump administration, whether it's the Biden administration,
it's fully refundable. So I'm trying to think. I actually don't even know. I actually don't even care. I lied. I don't care about this. I thought I cared, but I don't. This is just the amount that they would be able to get in cash back. So the child tax credit that they can get like deducted, right, as like a tax credit is $2,200, and then of the $2,200, only $1,400 is refundable that you could get in like tax return. And before it was $3,600, and it was fully refundable, which is way better. But I mean, it's fine, whatever.
Administration far as back to the Obama administration. Our government is incompetent. Period. Point blank.
So you're dodging.
And one
you're dodging.
Our one presidency did not change that.
You know,
one presidency did not change that.
I'm critiquing you. I'm critiquing you right now. So you're telling me that I'm being disingenuous because in the middle of a crisis, the bodies are still. You know, we're looking for the bodies, and you're scoring political points. What I'm telling you is that at a time when there was a crisis during the Biden administration, that's what MAGA was doing. They were calling out Biden for lies, by the way, for lies. And you didn't seem to have a problem with that back then. You weren't like, wow, Trump, you're a disingenuous person because you're calling out the Biden administration's FEMA at a time when bodies are still floating.
Hold on. All right, pause. Okay, so all right, just bring up some conservatives that were probably very critical of the North Carolina, South Carolina floods.
Donald J. Trump.
That's a reference something to it's not a meme. Did you ever watch Game of Thrones? No, haven't we gone through this? I've no desire to. No.
Okay, he's disingenuous.
Oh, okay. So the guy that you love, the guy that said that he's your LeBron, right? You said he was your LeBron.
Influencers and people like you are disingenuous.
People
sometimes.
like me. Yeah. So Donald J. Trump, the person who's your LeBron. You voted for the guy, you love the guy, and you're bringing this heat when you know you would never bring this heat to your own side. But the difference is, my critique is not disingenuous. It's actually calling out blatant hypocrisy. It's not relying on lies. I have Kristi Noem coming up and saying, we love FEMA. FEMA is so integral to what we're doing. The administration is trying to destroy FEMA. And so I can't call that out. And if I do, I'm being disingenuous? How the fuck?
When has FEMA been helpful?
Oh, okay.
When has it been...
Oh my god, no, never. There's never been a single instance ever in the United States where there has been a disaster and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, did I get that right, has provided assistance. It simply doesn't exist. Actually, every time that there is an actual disaster, FEMA just goes in and sets up camp in all of the Walmarts, steals all of the children in the middle of the night, and then rapes them.
So now the administration is being disingenuous.
When has it been effective? If it were up to me, I'd dismantle all of FEMA and redo it.
Okay, so then the administration. So the administration is being disingenuous when they're saying that FEMA is important. We're plugging in FEMA. FEMA is all great and everything, and they're getting an upgrade.
Yes,
so,
they are definitely. Yes, they are.
Okay, so isn't the most important time to call out the administration when everyone's attention is on it, and when they're being blatant hypocrites, and when they're lying to the people? Isn't that like a very important thing to do to keep that's what people did during Katrina. That's what people did during emergencies. If your criticism is based on something substantive, I think that's fine.
I'm sorry. Oh my god, I feel like I live in a different world. They had to make a literal, I'm looking for the misinformation. This was just last year. During times of disasters, how dare you score political points? How dare you even think about anything having to do with politics when there's a hurricane going on? You guys were literally telling people not to open the door for FEMA because they were gonna steal your food. There were literal people that refused aid and help from FEMA because of the misinformation that was being spread to score political points before an election.
I can't call that out, and if I do, I'm being disingenuous. How the
fuck?
When
has FEMA been helpful?
Oh, okay.
When has it been?
So now the administration is being disingenuous.
When has it been effective? If it were up to me, I'd dismantle all of FEMA and redo it.
Okay, so then the administration. So the administration is being disingenuous when they're saying that FEMA is important. We're plugging in FEMA. FEMA is all great and everything, and they're getting an upgrade.
Yes, they are definitely. Yes, they are.
Okay, so isn't the most important time to call out the administration when everyone's attention is on it, and when they're being blatant hypocrites, and when they're lying to the people? Isn't that a very important thing to do to keep that's what people did during Katrina. That's what people did during emergencies. If your criticism is based on something substantive, I think that
maybe I'm against businesses. I don't know. Is any business qualifies who makes at least $1,000 a year?
that's fine to criticize the government.
Is maybe I'm probably missing something. Is this just because like a lot of businesses operate in like the red, so it's like anyone who breaks even or like makes like a little bit?
I've never had a problem with that. The problem I have, though, is with lies that happened during other. So, for example, during the fires in LA, people were lying about what the Biden administration was doing, lying about Karen Bass and all that stuff. But if your critique is like actually founded, what's the problem in using an opportunity where people are paying attention to something to say, hey, maybe it was a bad idea to cut this many people from the National Weather Service when we're saying that the Weather Service fucked up their forecast? Maybe it's actually a good thing to have a National Weather Service. Why is that a problem?
Said that you were being disingenuous.
What? How am I being disingenuous?
So so you're critiquing them now during this flood. Were you critiquing them during the floods in North Carolina and South Carolina, or the fires in California or Hawaii? Were you being critical of the administration's response to how they handle it and how they're still handling?
Joe Biden.
Let me finish. I let you finish. You're telling me that you're okay with the way that they handle it. There are still people in California that are not allowed to rebuild their homes. I don't see you being very skeptical of or critical of them.
Of who?
You're being disingenuous.
Of who? Who do you want me to wait? Who do you want me to be critical of? Who do you want me to be critical of with respect to building your homes? I don't know if that's a FEMA issue. That's a FEMA issue. I'm not aware of the specific issue.
And when it happened.
Wait. Can you keep your mind concentrated? Can you keep your mind concentrated on one thing at a time? So you brought up the floods as a result of the hurricane in North Carolina, right? You brought that up, right? So that wasn't it.
Were you
critical of that? So the governors of Florida and of North Carolina said that they were getting everything they needed from the administration. They didn't have a critique of the administration there. That FEMA, Biden immediately
no.
As opposed to Donald Trump who said, I was going to stop giving money to California during FEMA, and who was putting up roadblocks and like releasing water for no reason in California. Are you really going to compare these two?
You're just lying.
What do you mean?
You're straight up lying.
What am I lying about? What am I lying about? Are you denying that Trump said? Are you denying that Trump said that he would withhold FEMA?
They didn't deny people. They didn't deny people.
Are you denying?
Are you denying on social media, begging them to come in and help them?
So let's be clear about something. Are you denying that Ron DeSantis said he got everything he needed from Joe Biden and FEMA? Are you denying that?
No.
Okay. Are you denying the fact that Trump said that he would withhold FEMA from California? Are you denying that?
No.
So who's playing politics with FEMA? I mean, Joe Biden was unleashing funds whenever these states asked for them. He was not being an impediment at all to them getting the federal funding they need.
Oh, yes,
and the
he
people
was.
the people playing
Did
politics.
Did you not see the first meeting Trump made whenever he became president? The first thing he did was go to California.
So what are we talking about? What are we talking about here? What does
that
have to do with anything?
Talking about? I'm talking about you being disingenuous.
What does that have to do with anything? Yeah.
You brought me on about you being disingenuous. Why can't I call you disingenuous?
Because why? I didn't praise Trump for physically traveling to California?
Now what are you talking about?
Wait. You just said... Wait, what are you...
Oh my god. I don't, like... I actually would love to see how one of these people reacts to, like... I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't react to them in a way that they would be able to continue to. I would just shut down. I would just stare at them. Do you want to repeat what you just said? Did I misunderstand? Do you want to say it again? Like, what you just said? But Donald Trump went to California. Okay, so. Do you want me to give him a cookie for going to California? Now what are you talking about? Okay, sorry. My bad, bro. What did you say before?
Did you not see the first meeting Trump made whenever he became president? The first thing he did was go to California.
So what are we talking about? What are we talking about here?
His face.
What does that have to do with anything?
Talking about? I'm talking about you being disingenuous.
What does that have to do with anything? Yeah.
You brought me on about you being disingenuous.
So the
why can't I call you disingenuous?
Because why? I didn't praise Trump for physically traveling to California?
Now what are you talking about?
Wait. You just said, wait, what are you talking about? Trump physically went to California, as though that was a response to anything I'm saying.
And you don't think anything he did was effective?
I don't,
you had Mayor Bass shaking in her boots. Everyone's folded to Trump. Every single person in California has...
So at a time now, at a time when you can't provide any rebuttal to the points I made about Joe Biden.
You're just saying I can't. You're just saying that I can't.
Provided then.
You're a master debater that sucks.
Wait. So
you're a shitty paralegal, bro.
Whoa. So you actually can't respond to anything I said about Joe Biden providing funds
I've
to
been responding, bro.
So
this is what I say when you're a disingenuous piece of shit.
Do you have anything?
You're a disingenuous piece of shit.
Do you have anything to...
Sorry, so on this $1,000 thing, I asked what this means. Okay, so it's literally just in all active qualified trades or businesses of at least $1,000. And then it says the threshold ensures that only those with a meaningful level of business activity, not hobbyists, qualify for the minimum deduction. Okay. So when I follow up, how is that the case if $1,000 is not a lot of money? And it is high enough to exclude people who have only negligible or accidental business income, such as a one-time sale or a hobby that generates a few dollars. So I qualify for this. Why the fuck do I qualify for this? This is dog shit. What?
You're a disingenuous piece of shit.
Okay, are you having a tantrum right now, right? Do you actually want to have a conversation or do you want to have a tantrum?
I'm telling you that you're a disingenuous piece of shit.
We're walking through
That's
that,
what
right?
I told you on Twitter, and then you hit me up saying, care to discuss?
Yeah. Care to discuss because now everyone's watching you have a tantrum because you're acknowledging, right? You're acknowledging that Joe Biden actually gave Florida and all these states everything they asked for, and you have nothing to rebut that at all. And Donald Trump actually is an impediment to FEMA, to the National Weather Service, and you know that that's at bottom true.
How is he an impediment?
He fired 600 to 700 members of the National Weather Service. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you saying
they probably weren't doing their job correctly.
Okay. And then we were warning months ago, hey, this is dangerous.
Because you're like, FEMA sucks. What don't you understand about that?
Dipshit, that's not FEMA. No. To rebut that at all. And Donald Trump actually is an impediment to FEMA, to the National Weather Service, and you know that that's at bottom true.
How is he an impediment?
He fired 600 to 700 members of the National Weather Service. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you saying
they probably weren't doing their job correctly.
Okay. And then we were warning months ago, hey, this is dangerous.
Because you're like, FEMA sucks. What don't you understand about that?
Dipshit, that's not FEMA. Dipshit, that's not FEMA. National Weather.
See, okay, I love the debate, bro. I love it so much, but like it's really entertaining to watch, right? I feel like people in the audience that are like watching this though are probably like, oh my god, these guys need to like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. It gets really heated, right? And it seems like everyone's just like trying to get like the next gotcha moment or whatever. Like I would have loved for him to just say, well, okay, so what's FEMA? Tell me what FEMA is. What part of the government is FEMA under? What does FEMA actually do? And then just like watch him fucking flounder, and then the audience is like so much more clearly like aware that this guy has no fucking clue on anything that he's talking about. Pisco should have given the answer. Don't give.
Yeah. And you saying
they probably weren't doing their job correctly.
Okay. And then we were warning months ago, hey, this is dangerous.
Because you're like, FEMA sucks. What don't you understand about that?
Dipshit, that's not FEMA. Dipshit, that's not FEMA. National Weather Service isn't FEMA, dipshit.
I know that we are talking about FEMA. The national, bro, I go fishing twice a week. You think I look at my Weather Channel app?
So what the fuck are you talking about?
They don't predict shit. A
Bro,
prime example.
You're out there, bro. Just take a second, take a breath. Take a breath.
Okay.
You're crashing
All
out.
right, listen to me. Friday, Thursday evening, you look at the weather. It says that it was not going to rain until Sunday. It's Saturday and it's been raining since yesterday morning. So this weather service app sucks.
Hey.
They are not accurate.
Hey, you know what is awesome? It would be awesome if the weather service were better, right?
Yeah, it would.
So
but it doesn't work if we just keep throwing money at it.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't do things correctly. Have you used the app?
So do you think that firing? Do you think that firing 600 to 700 people from the National Weather Service, that it affected at all the quality of the National Weather Service, decreased it or increased it?
It wasn't making it better.
So are you
it wasn't making it any better.
So do you think that firing 600 to 700 people from the National Weather Service, on all else equal, made the weather service better, worse, or the same?
Better.
So you think firing those people
better or the same?
Okay, all right. I mean, you are insane. You're an insane person, right? So you think that you can fire, a huge, like what, 20% of the staff of the National Weather Service, and it's not going to degrade the quality.
Twitter did it.
If there has to be genuine intention to make profit, then I feel like that would already protect against accidental business income. What the fuck even is an accidental business income? Okay. Oh shit! I accidentally stumbled upon some crazy business negotiations. Shit. How'd I get here?
Twitter.
And you're on there more
Twitter
than ever. And you're on there more than ever now.
So
sucking Elon's dick on the TL.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Get out of here.
You know you're full of
Get
it, right?
Get out of here, bro.
You know you're full of it.
No. You're saying that a company can't waste fat and be as effective. Twitter did it. You're probably farming a paycheck on there. Tell me you're not monetized.
I'm monetized. I make $20.
Okay then, get the fuck
out
of here.
I make $20 a month. I make $20 a month.
Hypocritical, disingenuous piece of shit, which was the point of the beginning of the conversation.
Wait. So if you make money as a content creator, you're automatically disingenuous. Is that what you're saying? Because I may get $20.
That's not what I said.
So I get $20 from Twitter.
Hold on. The reason I said you're disingenuous is because you said that the state of the Weather National Service is going to be worse if we defund it. And I gave you an example of a company that wasted fat, fired a shitload of employees, and found out that it could be more effective and more people would end up using it, even people that are against it like you.
Yeah, so the national weather. What Elon found out, and why Doge was a complete disaster.
Yeah, you ain't gonna clip that.
So what Elon found out, and why Doge was a complete disaster, and everyone acknowledges that Doge is a complete disaster. No one sits here and says, everyone now acknowledges.
That's why USAID is defunct now, because what they found was nothing.
What do you mean? What they found is nothing? They found no fraud.
What Doge found.
So it was a disaster, right? You agree it was a disaster?
No, so that's...
Why would he even bring that up? Wait, why? In what way? In what world would that ever support his argument? Why would he bring that up?
What Elon found out, and why Doge was a complete disaster.
Yeah, you ain't gonna clip that.
So what Elon found out, and why Doge was a complete disaster, and everyone acknowledges that Doge is a complete disaster. No one sits here and says, everyone now acknowledges.
That's why USAID is defunct now, because what they found was
it's USAID. Dipshit.
Nothing.
What do you mean? What they found is nothing? They found no.
Yeah.
Is he cracked out? I'm looking at his eyes more. I don't know.
What Doge found.
So it was a disaster, right? You agree it was a disaster?
So that's how they were able to convince all of Congress to defund it.
They didn't convince Congress to do that.
Then how did they get rid of USAID?
Well, I would argue it's illegal. But we haven't gotten rid of all foreign funding. They're trying to reshuffle.
Well, thank God you're not arguing it's illegal because you're not a fucking lawyer.
Wait. So I am a lawyer, but they're trying to argue now.
No, you're not.
Yeah, he had to have known that Pisco was a lawyer before that, right? Like, that was him being, like, disrespectful. That would be really fucking funny if he's like, you're not a lawyer. And he literally is.
You worked as a lawyer. So I am a lawyer.
Where did you graduate?
Yeah,
show me it.
Yeah, first of all, to be a
he actually not know? Oh my god. It's embarrassing. Mic is up.
Show me it.
To be a lawyer, so first of all, to be a lawyer.
Don't tell me how to be a lawyer. In Texas, you got to have a bachelor's degree in any.
Oh, so you're an idiot. Oh, so you're an idiot.
No.
So you're an idiot.
In Texas.
So you're an idiot.
Okay. Do you need me to explain you how you become a lawyer in
Texas? Why would I need you to just explain me how do you become a lawyer in Texas? Why is that relevant to anything we're doing?
I know that you have to get certified in your state bar, but I don't think that there's a different, like, other than, like, the literal, like, bar that you get, like, your license from, I don't think that there's, like, a state-by-state separate process to become a lawyer, right? Like, you go to undergrad, you apply to law school, or no, you take the LSAT, right? Then you apply to law school, you go to law school, you be a lawyer. Then you get your certification in your state that you're practicing law. And maybe you could get certification in another, like, state if you want to practice law there. But what? In Texas, you could get a bachelor's in any degree? Yeah, in any field you could get a bachelor's in any degree. Like, you... What?
So first of all, to be a lawyer...
Don't tell me how to be a lawyer. In Texas, you got to have a bachelor's degree in any
Oh, so you're an idiot. Oh.
That's the case with literally any job.
Oh, so you're an idiot.
No.
So you're an idiot.
In Texas...
So you're an idiot.
Okay, do you need me to explain you how you become a lawyer in
Texas? Why would I need you to just explain me how do you become a lawyer in Texas? Why is that relevant to anything we're talking about?
Because I live in Texas. That's how you become a lawyer. You go to school for 4 years, get a degree in anything you want, and then you go to law school for 3 years.
And you think that makes you a lawyer?
I don't know what the doctor equivalent to this would be, but, like, imagine if people spoke about that with going to medical school. It's like, oh yeah, you just do whatever science you fucking want, and then you just go to school for whatever, and then boom, you're a doctor. Okay. Sure, yeah.
No, you have to pass the bar.
And you think that makes you a lawyer?
Shut up.
You have no fucking clue. You have no idea. You have no idea what it is to be a lawyer and attorney. You have no idea about jack shit.
Neither do you. You work as a lawyer. Where the fuck did you go to school? Where's your shit?
Every time I bring you on,
get the fuck out of here.
Every state is somewhat different. Texas requires you to pass the Texas bar exam and go to an ABA accredited law school. Well, what is that? Is this just like a Texas thing? No, this is the American bar. It's the American bar. Is that not everyone? Yeah, so wouldn't that be everyone has to go to an American bar associated law school to go to be a lawyer in America? Right?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. You work as a lawyer.
So every time.
Is generally required for eligibility to sit for the bar exam in most states. He's saying that and taking the bar would be separate. Are there states where you're not required to go to an American bar accredited school and where you're not required to take the bar? I guess that's what I'm confused about. Oh, there are states that let you just not go to law school. Okay, I didn't know that. That's cool. California, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington. How woke of them. I don't know if I like, I feel like I don't intuitively agree with this. I obviously just found out about it 30 seconds ago, but I regularly use lawyer and doctor as like one of the examples, or as like the example. Like, not everyone needs to go to school, but everyone in certain professions 100% needs, like, professional schooling. But I guess if there's, like, a vocational type of, like, apprenticeship, that would basically be the same thing. I don't know. I'm also such a simp for school. I love school so much. You can't just show up and take the test. You usually have to be a paralegal for... Oh, okay, that makes sense. Like Rachel from Suits, right? My queen. See, I'm in favor of that. Now that I know that's how my queen was able to go to school. All right, that was a long side tangent.
Every time I bring you
got schooled on Twitter the other day and then went to suck Elon's dick afterwards.
Okay. So just to be 100% clear, 100% clear, to be 100% clear, you want to stop talking about the emergencies, right? Because they look bad for your boy.
How do you become a lawyer in New York? I'm curious now. How do you become a lawyer in New York?
I want to be clear. Do you want to stop talking about the emergencies because it looks bad for your boy? Is that what you want to do? Stop talking about the emergencies?
No, your boy.
You don't want to. So do you want to?
Trump? No. Do you want me to be critical of Trump? You think I'm not possible?
Yeah, I think that you can't be critical of Trump.
You want to know what I was really upset about? I feel like this was one of Trump's, prior to signing the bill yesterday, I felt like it was one of Trump's worst months.
Are you a groiper?
I'm a fan of Nick Fuentes. I like his insight. Yeah. But
how did I know you were gonna say yes, that you like Nick Fuentes? How did I know that?
Because you're a narcissist.
Make that make sense. Because I'm a narcissist, I know that you're a fan of Nick Fuentes?
Yes. You try to project on people, which you already believe in them.
Okay, all right, so go ahead. Why was it Trump's worst month? Because he bombed Iran, right?
Yeah, it started with that.
Because he's owned by Israel. Because of the Adel
scenes. He's in bed with Israel.
And because, Israel wants to be the regional superpower in the Middle East. Is that why? So you're just
I don't think there'll be a regional superpower. I'm not like, I don't think that they're about to take over the world or anything, but yes, I'm upset that, Trump is going hard, especially, okay, if we had to get rid of the nuclear bombs, totally, I'll throw that off the wall, but he went on Truth Social or whatever, and he straight up said, why is Israel why is Israel putting Bibi Netanyahu through the court system for his crimes that he committed,
why do you like Nick Fuentes? Nick Fuentes actually talks shit about Indian people all the time. You know that, right? He doesn't like Indian people.
Welcome to the internet.
Yeah. So do you have a problem with that?
No.
I mean, he talks shit about J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance is married to an Indian person. Talks shit about Vivek. Basically says he's not American because he's not white.
Doesn't he talk shit about?
No, but he literally hates people like you.
That's fine. You do not have to like someone in order to agree with some of the things that they say.
No, but you do like him, though. You said you liked him.
Oh, fuck you. I believe that he is I believe he is a genuine person. You may not like what he has to say, and you may get offended by what he says, and some of the shit, I can't just sit there and be like, oh, yeah, I agree that
he hates Indian people. Yeah, he thinks they're stinky. He thinks that they're, not real Americans.
Good for him.
But you're a fan of his. I mean, I think it's kind of you know, self-hating.
I will admit that Nick Fuentes, he does the research. He's a straight shooter. If you want to go up there and debate him, you'd probably get slaughtered.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you think Nick Fuentes is...
I know you would.
So Nick Fuentes isn't... He's not Nick Fuentes...
Do me a favor. You love clipping stuff. Clip this for me. Clip this for me. You would never survive a battle with Nick Fuentes.
What do you mean,
that on Twitter.
Survive a
post
battle?
It on
Wait,
Twitter.
What would I even post
That's
about?
It.
Why would I post that? Why would I post that?
You would never debate him.
Says who?
Everyone's
Says
scared of
who?
it.
Says fucking who?
I'm saying it.
Says who?
Me.
So you want me to post
Me.
this and say I'm scared to debate Nick Fuentes? Why would I tweet that? Why would it even make sense?
Well, no, you're not scared. I didn't say that you were scared.
Okay, you did say that you would never do it.
I want to try to.
You said that people. Wait, you don't even remember what you just said. You don't even remember what you just said. You did say that.
I said that you would lose.
Oh no, you said people.
Maybe.
You said that people like don't want to debate him because they're scared.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that you would chicken out.
Okay. Why do you think that?
And I think if me and you clip this and we put it on Twitter and the Groiper army sees it, you might have a shot.
At what?
Who knows?
At debating Nick Fuentes? I'm sure if I asked him, he would say yes.
Yeah.
Well, like, what would we debate about?
Sure.
He's not a fan of Trump.
What? What if...
Trump right now. What would we debate?
I know. Yeah. You could debate him on plenty of stuff.
Okay, so you're a fan of Trump and he's not.
No, I'm critical of Trump, but I still voted for him.
Yeah.
I can't just hop off the ship.
Yeah, but Fuentes said not to vote for him.
Okay, if Nick Fuentes says to run off a building, am I gonna go?
Yeah, but you're a Groiper. You're a Groiper, so why wouldn't you do what he said?
I didn't say I was a Groiper. I said that I liked some of. No, I don't know what the qualification. I think one of the qualifications is you have to hate women.
Be on Nick's
I love
nuts.
women.
Be on Nick's nuts. That's one of the qualifications, and it sounds like you're on Nick's nuts.
I just said that I really like women, and I voted for Trump. He said not to vote for them.
Okay. Why are you even here, bro? I mean, you're accusing me of being disingenuous because
you asked me.
No, but you clearly you clearly don't have
you brought me on here.
I know. Whoa. So I know I invited you, but I invited you to discuss the issue, and you don't have an interest in discussing the issue. You don't want to talk about the emergency.
I thought the issue was saying that you're disingenuous.
Yes, to discuss about the specific issue of the flooding and the emergency.
No, that's what you said.
Well,
you want to discuss.
You replied. You
flood.
said, "quote Shut the fuck up, you disingenuous piece of shit. The river rose 26 feet in 45 minutes. Just how predictable do you think weather in Texas is? Using death so you can score some points for your liberal cuck shit party." That's what I wanted to debate.
That sounds so fucking accurate.
Wait, no, but that's what
sounds so fucking accurate.
That's what I want to discuss with you. I want to discuss why you think I'm just trying to quote score points for liberal cuck shit party.
That's what you do. You're not going to give a shit about this 2 days from now.
It says
you're going to be on to the next thing.
You're projecting. You're projecting.
You're going to be on to the next thing.
You're projecting.
I don't know. You might go join the America Party with Elon Musk as long as you fucking get a paycheck.
You mean the person that I'm like talking shit about this entire time, and the person?
No, you were sucking his dick on the timeline.
When?
2 days ago.
When?
2 days ago. 2 days ago, you were like, I agree with you, Elon Musk.
When he was talking shit about the bill, I agree with the bill, but that doesn't make me disingenuous. Just because didn't you just say? Wait, didn't you just say just because you agree with someone on something doesn't mean that you're like on their nuts? Isn't that what you just said? You're like just because you agree with someone doesn't mean. Whoa! You just got a contradiction. You know what you just did, right? So you were.
It's one thing to shoot him one tweet. You shot him multiple.
Wait.
It was like I just kept seeing your responses to Elon, like 3 of them.
What are you talking about? I tweeted his one thing where he's like, where he goes the post about the federal contempt part of the bill, and I said dangerous.
Dude, are you on your computer whenever you debate me?
Wait! I just looked up my time. You just said I did it multiple times, so I just.
I'm
looked
talking about
up.
the entire time.
Oh my god! What a loser! Talk about the fucking topic. Jesus Christ! Were you googling? Were you googling while we were talking? You weren't giving me attention while we were talking. Were you googling?
Like you have access to your computer?
I'm streaming. You're a troll. You're trolling. You're literally trolling right now. I'm streaming.
No, but I'm talking about like you're pulling up like Wikipedia.
These are my hands.
Up, like,
my hands. I just
information.
I went over to look at my timeline.
Right.
And you just. By the way, you just.
But that's cheating. That's cheating. You're not allowed to Google.
I mean, you look. I literally quoted.
All I know is I did right here.
Whoa. So I quoted.
My hands ain't touched the mouse.
I quoted the tweet
or a keyboard.
We can tell, bro. We can fucking tell. You don't gotta brag about it.
So you knew that I was on the computer because I quoted the tweet that started this whole thing. And so you can't now be like, oh, you're on your computer looking at the tweets that we're discussing? Of course, you knew that because I was quoting shit at you. What you just said, by the way, I quoted, right? The tweet response you just had. So you knew. So you're full of shit. Sure. Like, are you high right now?
All right. Always.
So you're...
Is he actually cracked out? Oh my god.
You're high right now.
When am I not?
All right.
I'm high on life 24/7.
That was so epic. That was actually so epic that I need to like take a minute and like run away. I can't. Wow, I'm high on life right now, bro. Ooh. Kind of.
You guys aren't willing to date, like.
I'm gonna get copyright right in.
Besides their alma maters. It's true that it has been like that of late, but it hasn't always been that way. I mean, for example, I was thinking about it, I was reading some books over the summer.
Running to the bathroom. I'll be right back, but I do want to watch that Jubilee. Like the they did the fat and skinny one like 4 times, so I guess they needed a new name.
And it's striking to me that when Justice Frankfurter was on the court, renowned justice, as the law students in the audience know, he had been a professor at Harvard, but he served simultaneously with Justice Jackson, who didn't get a law degree. Justice Jackson learned law at a time when you could study law by being an apprentice. And simultaneously, Hugo Black was on the court, and he'd gone to the University of Alabama Law School. So it's true that recently the court has been, populated more with those who've gone to Ivy League law schools, but it hasn't always been the case, and I don't think it always needs to be the case, right? I mean, I think University of Minnesota and Notre Dame, and there are plenty of places that produce excellent lawyers, and they should not be overlooked.
Well, in addition to the fact that most of the justices graduated from the same Ivy League schools, not all, but most of them, most of the justices have the same professional background as a Court of Appeals judge. Mm-hmm. I think Justice Kagan may be the only one that wasn't a Court of Appeals judge before going on the court. I think she was nominated for one and not confirmed along the way. So do you think the court would benefit from more diversity in either geographic backgrounds? Most of the justices come from courts of appeal on the East Coast. So would greater geographic diversity and more professional experience, such as legislative experience, be a benefit to the court? I think Justice O'Connor was the last justice who'd served in the legislature before going on the court.
I think that's right. Justice O'Connor served in the Arizona State Legislature, and it may well have been her experience as a state legislature that made her particularly committed to federalism, which is, the balance for those non-lawyers in the room, which is, you could loosely say states' rights, but it's the independence of states in our federal system in which states still...
Please quiet down and allow the lecture to continue. Demonstrations and disruptive behavior are not authorized inside the auditorium. Please quiet down and allow the lecture to continue. If the disruptive behavior does not cease, we will be compelled to invoke Minnesota statutes, and disruptive parties will be required to vacate the room. Cue the slide, please. It is ordered that this disruptive behavior cease. The university revokes any claim of right of individuals to continue to disrupt this event. All those who fail to comply will be in violation of Minnesota Statute 624.72, Subdivision 3, interference with the use of public property, and Minnesota Statute 609.605, trespass, and will be placed under arrest by the university police. All disruptive parties are asked to vacate the room or be subject to arrest.
Well, let's resume our conversation. You know, Justice Barrett, we really are Minnesota nice. And we don't treat other people like that very often at all. So we're so delighted you're here. You taught at Notre Dame for 15 years, and you taught a constitutional law course. Now that you've been on the court for 3 years, is the court what you thought it was when you taught it, or how would you teach that course differently now with your experience?
I think the court is what I thought it was when I taught it, and I think I would teach the class the same way when it comes to the substance, because the cases are what the cases are, and the role of the court, you know, is what it is. But in thinking about what I know now that I didn't know then, and that I don't think I was a law clerk at the court to Justice Scalia, but I don't think I fully appreciated this even as a law clerk. The way that opinions are written. I mean, as an academic, as a professor, as a law student, and I'm sure the law students in the room sometimes feel this way, it can be frustrating when a Supreme Court opinion doesn't answer all the questions, or when it feels like some issues are glossed over. You think, what about this? What about that? And it is challenging to write on a multi-member court. So if you look at opinions and you read them very carefully, and you remember that the author of the opinion, you know, when I write an opinion, I'm not speaking only for myself or only in my own voice. I'm writing for everyone else who has joined the majority. And that means that I have to find a way to thread the needle so that what I say is something that every one of my colleagues that's in the majority can agree to. And so sometimes that means glossing over some things where maybe people don't agree, or maybe people just aren't ready to take a position on something. And then we also, I sometimes see, you know, law professors criticizing an opinion and saying, well, the court left this issue open, it didn't decide it. But it's not that we didn't know about it. I mean, that's usually a very deliberate choice, because we want to be very careful not to answer too many questions in cases where those issues haven't been front and center, and they haven't been fully briefed, and we haven't had the benefit of a lot of opinions from the lower courts. So I think I would pay a lot more attention now, and I encourage you who are law students to do that, in thinking about why was an opinion written the way it was written, or why are some things missing that I think ought to be there. And I think appreciating that and the challenges of writing in that situation for a larger, I mean, even larger than when I was on the Court of Appeals, where I would be writing for one or two other colleagues. So I think that's the thing I've grown to appreciate the most, that I would approach differently in the classroom.
The court now has 4 women justices serving for the first time in its history. And you perhaps more often align with some of the conservative justices, and Justice Sotomayor and Kagan and Jackson often join with other liberal justices, although it's certainly not true in many, many cases. But are there occasions when the 4 women justices get together for any purpose well, get together for any reason, just to sort of celebrate the fact there's 4 now?
Well, let's see. I would say I am so delighted to have Justice Jackson as my new colleague. I would say that the women don't, I think ideologically, well, I'll start by saying this, Professor Stein. My very first dissent in my first term on the court was in a 6-3 case, but it was not the 6-3 that you might be expecting.
What did they have a slide for? It is oh my god. Oh, for like the protest.
Please quiet down and allow the lecture to continue. If the disruptive behavior does not cease, we will be compelled to invoke Minnesota statutes and disruptive parties will be required to vacate the room.
That is actually really funny.
Cue the slide, please.
Cue the slide, please.
It is ordered that this disruptive
Wow, it's like a magic spell. As soon as you recite the statue, everyone shuts the fuck up.
You guys aren't willing to date like Brendan Fraser and the Whale.
Anorexia versus obese is absolutely like that's a fucking insane title. That's insane. That's just like that's so crazy. This is an
You can't move. Well, but I mean, there's a limit, right?
To a degree, yeah. You realize these are both like severe eating disorders. This one not so much, because I feel like, can you be obese without like, you can be obese like physically, like if you have fucked metabolism. You could also be. It wouldn't be considered anorexic though. Anorexic is considered like an eating disorder. You can be super skinny as like a metabolic thing, but you wouldn't be considered anorexic unless you had like an actual like disordered eating pattern where you're terrified to gain weight. Which is like, it's like actually such an insane like it's crazy. According to BMA, you could be considered obese without having. Yeah, I know. That's why it's like strange, because this is like an eating disorder. Like this has to be an eating disorder. Has to be like a fear of gaining weight, and then obese is just like you could just be obese. Like you.
You'd be surprised how few guys have limits.
I feel like you'd be surprised how shallow men think women are, though.
I will admit, I think women are shallow.
I am very shallow. I will admit it right here, right now.
I'd rather be too skinny than too big. Step forward if you agree with the prompt.
That's an insanely unhinged prompt to even start with, too. Jesus Christ. Very strange. Interesting.
I feel like it's obvious for us, like, I wouldn't have done this if I didn't want to be skinny, so of course I would rather be skinny than what my definition of too big even is. Like,
yeah, ever since starting recovery, I've really tried to preach to myself like the health benefits of gaining weight and, you know, being in a healthier body. But at the end of the day, I am a flawed teenage girl. I'm a product of our society where they put standards on women to, you know, look a certain way. And, you know, whether I do want to fit in with standards or whether I choose not to fit in with certain standards, there's still going to be something ingrained in me that, like, I would want to rather be thin than be overweight.
Yeah. Not even using the term like overweight for me, because I always felt like I was too big, tall for my age, so I felt big compared to the boys in my classes or compared to my family or whatever it was. So I feel like that, like, feeling too big is what led me to where I was when I was anorexic and things like that. But I'm actually wondering, for you, what has caused you to kind of have the opinion of you would rather be too skinny than too big? Like, is it something specific that you've gone through that would give you that opinion?
Yeah.
Is there a way to be skinny in this situation and not sound like a bitch? I feel like she basically just said, like, yeah, so I'm skinny and I like being skinny, but you're fat, so why do you like being skinny if you're fat? What?
too big is what led me to where I was when I was anorexic and things like that. But I'm actually wondering for you, what has caused you to kind of have the opinion of you would rather be too skinny than too big? Like, is it something specific that you've gone through that gave you that opinion?
Yeah, I guess life has given me that opinion.
Life.
Obviously, I don't see it from the same way. I see it from, for me, like, you know, getting bigger is easier, right? So being too skinny, I feel like it's easy for me to recover from that. I just go to my nonna's house and just bowls of pasta, and it's, you know, I'm back to normal. But also, I mean, I'm a big guy. It's hard to find clothes. If you're small, you wear. I guess if you're too small, I guess your clothes are a little baggy. And sure, if you care about fashion, that's a big deal. But I'm not trying to wear crop tops, so I would appreciate my shirt to fit, and it costs more money. I have to go out and I have to go buy bigger shirts and bigger pants and all that. I can feel the weight daily, especially at the end of the night. Gravity is acting on all of us, and I can feel my mass acting on me. You know, it's great that it's giving me, you know, these thunderous calves that I can run around with, but I overall would much more appreciate being too skinny than too fat.
I really want to agree with what you said about feeling like too big. Would you agree that like you don't want to feel like too big? You'd rather, 100%. Yeah. I think my onset was kind of bullying. I thought if I lost a little bit of weight and I didn't feel too big anymore, no one could ever bully me again. Like freshman year, that one, you know, friend who wasn't really a friend was horrible for me, and that's kind of what started my spiral. I remember thinking, I was like, I want people to like me, I want, you know, to be accepted, and I thought that being skinny, or not even skinny, just losing weight and not feeling that big feeling would be the answer, and that, you know, people would like me because I'm skinny. And I feel like, to an extent, unfortunately, that's kind of true. People pay more attention to you when you fit those standards.
Do you mind if I ask, where do you guys tend to feel that pressure from? Because I always hear, obviously, that it tends to hit women more, but I mean, knowing my fellow man, we look at girls, doesn't matter, you know, you could be 40 more pounds, 30 less pounds, we're fine. Where do you guys feel like you get that pressure from?
I kind of feel like comparison.
Comparison for the most.
I mean, especially in our position, eating disorders are so insanely competitive, and we're constantly comparing each other.
Yeah, me and my friends would like weigh ourselves in front of each other and see
which ones.
Really?
Yeah. So
I think the thing with like Europe having healthier food just has to do with like variety. What would I even look up? Grocery store, like, how many different brands do they have in each grocery store brand? I think that we just have I think that we're just really spoiled, like in New York. Like, we just have like a lot of access to a lot of things, and so we just see like a lot more junk. And it kind of warps it into thinking that it's all junk. There is definitely more junk than not junk. But I don't think that the food just like existing in America makes it like inherently unhealthy. Healthy products move to sidelines amid affordability issues. See, Europe is also having junk food crisis.
Yeah. I get a high weighing less than my little sister, who's shorter than me. Unfortunately, but it's, you know, it's horrible, but it's the truth. Yeah.
Whether it's a celebrity or a family member or a friend or, you know, anybody.
Celebrities are crazy.
Yeah, celebrities too. Like, that's a very real, like, especially with like reality TV shows, and there's like Love Island, and they're all in bikinis, and they all have fake boobs, and you know, whatever, and they look amazing all the time, and then you're like, well, I want to look like that, and you know.
And then when I was losing a ton of weight from starving myself, I had my friends be like, you look great, like, or they'd be like, oh, I lost, 20 pounds, but I still don't look like you, and I'm like, it was like encouraging to me, and I was like, wow, like people look like me, like people like that I look this skinny. But then realistically, it did not obviously look good. But I was getting like compliments from people that wanted to be skinny like me, but I was like, you don't want to do it.
Have you ever got a compliment from when you've gained a bit more weight?
Yeah. I remember my ex was very, he didn't like how skinny I was. He said that it looked unhealthy, it looked really bad. He felt uncomfortable like touching, my arm and stuff like that. And then when I did, meet up with him a few months later and I ended up gaining some weight, he was like, you look really healthy, but it was still all in my head.
Yeah. It's tricky when people compliment you.
Oh yeah.
Weight,
so you look so good.
You look so healthy. All I hear is you look bigger. Can we have the Sophia step forward?
Oh wait, that's I used to have like a little eating disorder. Not like full blown anorexia, but it's always like when you're like doing recovery and everyone's like, oh my god, you look so good. It's like, fuck you. Don't say that to me. Don't remind me. I don't want to be here. Like,
one of the points that you guys brought up about comparison, I've learned after reading a couple of articles or books or spiritually trying to heal that, I've learned that comparison is the greatest thief of joy. So that kind of altered my mindset, because it's like, as much as like I want to compare and be like, I want to be super fit, but I'm not even their ethnicity. Like my rib cages are different. That's also not saying that I don't think I can be the fit and the best version of me that I want to be. Not that I need to be, because what I need and want is very different. So that's why I found like interesting about you guys talking about comparison and how that impacted you guys.
Is there like any part of you that is like wants to be, how do I explain it? Like, you know that it's healthier to be like skinnier.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not healthy or that's not. I guess the end goal for me, skinny just means so much more different, because skinny has been projected onto me a lot of different ways. It's been sexualized. It's been a mechanism for me to fight men off, to keep the pounds on. Then again, to keep the pounds off, you guys talk about getting complimented about, oh, you guys look so much more healthier, and that makes you guys feel bigger. The same way as if I were to, and I've lost weight and I've killed myself over it, and they're like, you look so much, like, you look great, you look happier. And I'm like, I wasn't saying that I was happy. I wasn't happy before. Maybe the way that I did things and my mechanisms were wrong, but that generally doesn't mean that, like, I'm not saying that I don't want to be super skinny or I don't want to be super fat. I feel like that's just.
Do women experience more food disorders than men? And if so, why is that? I'm speaking completely out of my ass right now, but intuitively, I feel like yes, 100% probably, because it has to do more with like a mental thing than a physical thing of having to do with like conforming to societal standards. Probably.
Just like a goal internalized within yourself?
I think for me, it's like I was really young when I experienced restricting eating. I was so unhealthy when I was restricting myself, and I wouldn't say I was anorexic if you looked at me, but
I think also like, actually, hang on, depends, I don't know. I feel like as like cited eating disorders, like people that are like aware that like what they're doing is unhealthy and that they need like help, 100% women. Men do the thing where they like get super into fitness and they make it seem like, oh, like I'm just calorie counting to make sure that the macros are there. And it's like, bro, like I also had my journal with my calorie counting and my little tape measure, right? You're not special. You're not hiding anything, okay? That's also 100,000% a form of like an eating disorder. Like you're conforming your body to fit the men's societal standards. But I think that just gets like more applause because it's seen as like healthy, because men are the ones that are doing it. Who knows?
But I was doing behaviors and I was barely eating. I felt super sick every day. I felt like I was gonna pass out, and I was also playing sports. I was just extremely unhealthy, even though I looked thin. And it was that same thing of like people being like, you look so good, and I'm like, you don't understand how bad I feel right now. Like I feel like I'm gonna pass out, and I felt like I was doing it a good thing because people would compliment.
I think my guess would probably be like women have more to do with like body image concerns, binge eating, and appropriate, like all of these are like common amongst women, and then men only get like the inappropriate compensatory behaviors of like going to the gym like 7 hours a day and then eating like fucking dog food day and night every night.
Met me and I was like, this is what I needed. Like, I just need to stop eating. And then now, on the opposite end, being bigger, I think like I can manage myself now. Like me personally, like I don't have major health problems. Like I feel healthy. I try to work out. I eat a vegan diet. I try to eat clean. Yes, I'm bigger, but I feel like I manage it better.
Would it be something for any of the disagreeers? Like, would you be open to wanting to lose weight?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm comfortable with my body. I feel good. You know, I wouldn't want to be super skinny because I just wouldn't. But like.
Could also be the different ways in which people consume their foods. If it's highly responsive from dopamine. This is like a new field, or I don't know if it's like a new field, but I feel like I've been hearing so much more about like your gut biomes. Like the little like microbiome that you have in your stomach plays way more of a role on like your appetite and like your like overall like digestive health than a lot of people think. I feel like this is probably like I definitely see I could definitely I don't know, I'm speaking intuitively out my ass right now, but I feel like this would make sense if women were more like, not even just women, but like if different people had like more like happy reactions to food. like more filling. I feel like I have a very interesting, like, I have a strange relationship with food now because I had an eating disorder where it's like I don't like eat to get joy from eating because it's like, oh my god, I'm so hungry and I like love to eat and I love food so much and I can't wait to taste this thing. It's more of like, right, I'm tired, probably gonna pass out if I don't get some blood sugar in me. It's more of like a mechanical process. Like it's a chore that I have to do. I don't have like a satisfying like anything. My friend was telling me about this documentary that she saw though, like talking about all of these insane like gut microbacteria shit and like the way that like the foods that you eat and the way that you nutrient or like feed your gut biome makes it like, I don't know, easier to live and easier to eat and like better to eat and more filling when you eat. Thinking more in terms of women having ADHD and depression and using dopaminergic foods to distract. Oh, yeah. Okay, like binge eating stuff. Could also work the opposite way, where they consume those types of foods after a while of doing it and develop an insecurity, going in the opposite direction towards things like anorexia. Yeah, I think with binging and purging, it's like, what is it, bulimia? Is that the official name? I think this is more associated with like, I'm sad and I want to eat a lot of food to make me feel better because I'm sad, and the food's gonna make me feel better because I'm sad. And then after you eat the food, it's like, fuck, I actually didn't want to eat the food because I was sad, and actually now that I ate all the food, I feel a lot worse, and then you end up like throwing it up. Not with everyone, obviously, but I think that's like the stereotypical psychology behind that. And then there's also like it's like binging and purging, but like restrictively, where you go like I don't know, like X amount of days without eating anything, or like being like super restrictive of like, oh, I'm only gonna eat like a carrot, or I'm only gonna eat a cucumber, or like I'm only gonna eat like one singular thing. And then after you give up because your body is like so fucking hungry, then you're like, all right, fuck it, and then you just end up eating a shit ton of food and eating all of it like all at once. I think that's like a different that's like the that's more of like the, I think the stereotypical psychology behind that would be like, I need to be skinny and I need to like lose weight, and so I'm not gonna eat anything. And then it's like, fuck, well, I'm really hungry, I just have to eat all of it, and it's fine because I didn't eat anything for the past week. And then yeah, obviously speaking intuitively out my ass. But I definitely also think that a lot of people wrongfully put food and like eating in the category of like physical health as opposed to mental. Like, obviously there are like, it's like on a case-by-case basis, but I feel like people are like really, really quick to like only market it or only treat it as like this strictly physical thing, when a lot of it has to do with like mental, societal, and like cultural like pressures coming in on you.
Yeah. I like being the big boy, I guess. I like being beefy. I go to the doctor, I check myself in. I know in the long run, this isn't going to affect me health-wise, but as of now, I am comfortable within my own skin. Like, this is me. You know, I'm a fat friend in the friend group.
Does it get on you being like the fat friend though?
Not on me.
To me, no. And like, yeah, and everybody's different. Some people, you know.
I think, everyone's different.
Well, I think from my perspective, the way I see it, it seems like the extremes can be occupied by women a bit more. Like, you know, we have to look at people like Lizzo or other very heavy women and say they're beautiful, they're big and beautiful, and then very, very skinny, stick thin women, and they're the beautiful models. And men kind of seem to be able to occupy the middle ground, and that's it.
I'd have to.
Well, because you look at the dad bod is a little bit overweight, but the fat guy is always the comic relief. He's never the one who gets the girl. He's never that, right?
Yeah.
They're the fat guy, and the real stick thin guy is usually a dweeb or a nerd in like kind of a popular culture. It's shifted a bit. It shifted a bit with like Timothy Chalamet.
I was gonna say like twinks are back in.
But that's what I mean. Is like, you know, that it more so it seems like men can occupy that middle space.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to think of like specific actors or like people that I think of immediately when you say dad bod. Like maybe Vince Vaughn. He's like really famous, really successful. People think of him very fondly. I don't think most people consider him very big at all. But like to me, that's like a dad bod. That's the only person in mind right now. But a little bit.
Trying to say, but that's the
there's no middle ground for men. There's no extremes.
He's not like
you don't get like, I mean, look at the movie with Brendan Fraser, The Whale, right? Like that's not ever an attractive instance of a human being to anybody. But we are definitely told sometimes, maybe even sometimes it's forced down us that like that big woman that looks very, you know, huge woman, you have to find her beautiful in some way. There's going to be categories for it, and you know, pornography, right? That these are things that are more heavily sold. The type of lenses of attraction of men kind of span this range where we're supposed to kind of find all attractive, but it seems to be a little bit more precise for men, and that definitely weighs on me when I say the too skinny versus too fat, because you know, I'm lucky to be married and I don't have to play the game anymore. But it doesn't mean that the lens doesn't still affect me.
Do you worry about like what your partner perceives you as?
If I went just by what she perceived me as, I would probably be even bigger. She actually is one of the rare ones that likes bigger guys.
Nice.
But she's also someone who, and this is why I married her, is because she cares more about.
Was Twink always just a skinny dude type thing? Yeah. Is that not like the definition? It's just like a little skinny white gay. Yeah. Slim build and youthful appearance.
My well-being than her perception of me as beautiful,
Yeah.
right? And it's the same for me as her. I may prefer a certain look, but I'm not going to harp on my wife and make her lose a bunch of weight when she's carrying my child, because that would be ridiculous. I don't need her to look a certain way.
Think about the last time you said, I'm fine to someone, but you really weren't, because it was too hard to tell them how you really feel. Maybe you said, or ruined a questionnaire, click the
I've been both in my life.
description or go to betterhelp.com/JubileeMedia and get 10% off your first month of therapy. Thanks to BetterHelp for supporting this channel. Now let's get back to the video.
Fat shaming comes with more hate than skinny shaming.
If someone were to call me fat, that is the worst thing anyone could possibly say to me, is saying that you are fat. Whereas skinny shaming, because I've been both in my lifetime. I've never been, fat. I've just been, comments here and there by, whatever, doesn't mean anything. It gets to me. It really gets to me. But I've been told very seriously, on the other hand, that like, you're really skinny, like, the skinny shaming. It gets annoying, but there's also this high that comes from it. Yeah. And I can never imagine being a person in a larger body having to deal with that scrutiny that brings on fat shaming every single day.
I think like societal beauty standards they push thinness. So like being skinny shamed, of course it's like any type of harassment and bullying is not okay. But I do think like that is kind of, like you said, it's almost like a compliment. Like I just feel like being fat shamed is like more harsh bullying, because like on social media I get comments all the time and it's like, you can never win either when you're fat, because like I can be at the gym working out and people still call me fat. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Like I'm in the gym. Like
I feel like skinny shaming is a newer thing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like a thick, painful history to fat shaming and being called fat. And you're right, it's definitely, in my opinion at least, it just seems far more hateful, especially with society's idea about what is considered beautiful and what isn't.
It's, the typical standard of beauty is a thin white woman, unfortunately.
Exactly. I was actually going to touch, that's a great point, because I've kind of read into the theory of like fat phobia stemmed off of racism to start with, because of course the beauty standard was a skinny white woman. So that's why I feel like it's so much deeper than just being like, you're fat. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? Because clearly it's never going to be the same as to another woman who's just built that way.
Yeah.
So the same way with the backhanded compliments with, oh, you could never win. We're at the gym. What is she doing at the gym? Oh, that's good for her. She's going to the gym. No matter what, like you said, you just can't win. And then with the skinny, that's the high of like what waist, like I'm skinny, like,
Yeah.
But that's, thank you for touching on it.
Right.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was always bullied as a fat kid in school. And like growing up as a kid, you never hear people bully like, oh, look at that skinny guy. Look at that stick. It's always like, look at that fat kid. He can't do this, he can't do that. And
it doesn't have the same implications,
No.
even if it is said.
Yeah.
Disagree a step forward?
The reason I don't 100% agree is like, yes, I agree that if somebody called me fat, it would probably hit way harder than being called skinny. Like obviously I think being skinny is a compliment. Someone call me fat, I'd freak out. But I feel like since skinny is like the ideal societal body type, it's much more like prominent of people like harping on really skinny people and like really like being nasty to them online because they feel like they can, since it's like ideal, But then if you fat shame somebody else.
Very interesting. I feel like my intuitively, fat shaming just seems harsher because skinny is like the societal standard. So like I get what they're saying about it, like comes with like a little bit of a high. But I think also like in the same way, it's like, that people that are skinny shaming are doing it probably from like a place of jealousy. Or you can tell yourself that. You can get away with like telling yourself that. Like, oh, they're just jealous. They just want to be me. But I can't imagine like that goes on for that long if people start doing it in like a genuine like, I'm concerned about you way. I feel like I would start to get really, really, really irritated if every time I went out to eat, someone was just constantly fucking reminding me how skinny I looked and like, oh, you need to eat more. You gotta put more meat on your bones. And like, I don't know. I feel like that what that guy made sense, where it's like it'd be like in your head, it's like kind of easy to get fat. Like you just eat more. It's pretty easy to get fat. It's kind of difficult to lose weight because then you have to actually put in work. But then for skinny people, it's like actually, it would be a lot of work to be fat. I don't know.
Online, people are very quick to jump to their defense. Yeah, but they're not quick to jump to a skinny person's defense because it's like that's what people want to look like. If that makes sense.
I don't think
I feel like it would be more. I feel like it would be more hateful. Yeah.
I agree with that completely because it's like, again, it's still stemming with like you're the ideal push. Like, even though it's still, like I said, it's still not okay. I'm not saying that's okay. I just think that it's worse when it's towards a fat person. Like she said, it also is deeper than just like fat and skinny. Like there's a lot of things that go into that.
I hate to get overly philosophical with this, but it comes to me down to the idea of what exactly is hate. When you're talking about what qualifies shaming in as hateful, I don't think that all shaming is hateful. This is maybe a controversial opinion. It is undeniable that our country has an obesity epidemic. There is a large portion of people that are overweight. You know, I'm not saying that shaming always works and that you should come from a place of hatred in particular, but perhaps we need that more than we need to worry about, not that we need skinny shaming. And so skinny shaming is maybe not hateful to the individual, but perhaps it's more hateful to the culture to try and shame people for being skinnier, and you know, say like, oh, you're bone thin, no man would ever love you, or oh, dude, you need to work out and get your muscle up, and that is encouraging people further into unhealthier lifestyles. Whereas I'm not inherently convinced that, like, obviously on individual case-by-case bases, there are instances in which that can be really harmful, to, you know, to say you're too fat and it may do that. But overall, I'm not convinced that that's not a good thing, that we're at least making sure more people are aware, like, being fat's not good.
So would you consider it to be like fat shaming if somebody...
Look at the difference in mindset too. The super skinny girl is devastated to be called fat because the ideal is skinny, but if you call an obese person skinny, they know it's not true. Yeah, but yeah, 100%. And that goes into like the mindset thing, because it's probably most likely like body dysmorphia. It's really mind-fucking to like have body dysmorphia, like and I don't know how to describe it to people in a way that doesn't sound dramatic, but it's literally like you don't recognize yourself when you look in the mirror, and you'll look at pictures of yourself and there's just like this permanent sense of like disassociation. Like it's like I get it being like someone that's skinny. If you have body dysmorphia, you don't actually know what your body looks like. Every time you look in the mirror, you don't really feel associated with yourself. Every time you look at pictures, you feel like they're lying to you or like they're edited. Like and then you have someone telling you like, oh yeah, you're fat, then it like feeds into the anxiety. I feel like with a fat person though, they're not getting called skinny. Like, if they're getting called skinny, they're getting called skinny because they're being made fun of, probably. Like, not because of a genuine, like, oh, you are a little skinnier. I don't know. I feel like it seems like it's coming from, like, a way more, like, from the perspective of the person that's receiving the insult, like, it seems like it's coming from a way less serious place, if you can clearly see that it's something that's not true. I don't know if that makes any sense. But not all shame is hateful. I get what he's saying, but I feel like the way that he's saying it leaves the door open for a lot of people to be like, yeah, I'm just concerned, and I'm just concerned that you're a fat ass, and you're a fucking fat ass, you lazy fuck, I'm just really fucking concerned about you, if you fucking lose weight, you fucking fat ass. Like, there are definitely people that start doing that whole shit of like, I'm just so concerned about you. I'm just so concerned about your health that I'm just so concerned, and I'm just so concerned. But this guy seems like he's talking about people that are doing it with like good intentions of like,
we mean skinny shaming. And so skinny shaming is maybe not hateful to the individual, but perhaps it's more hateful to the culture, to try and shame people for being skinnier, and you know, say like, oh, you're bone thin, no man would ever love you, or oh, dude, you need to work out and get your muscle up, and that is encouraging people further into unhealthier lifestyles. Whereas I'm not inherently convinced that, like, obviously on individual case-by-case bases, there are instances in which that can be really harmful, to, you know, to say you're too fat, and it may do that. But overall, I'm not convinced that that's not a good thing, that we're at least making sure more people are aware. Like,
I think fat shaming people to help people is ultimately toxic, but some fat shamers are trying to help in a toxic way. Probably. I got bullied a lot in middle school by my friends because I had a bad haircut, and then I changed my haircut because I got bullied a lot, and I looked a lot better after I got a better haircut. So I get tough love. It just has to be coming from the right place, obviously. A fucking stranger on the street doesn't have your best interests at heart and isn't, like, advocating for you when they call you a fat ass. But I don't, maybe if, like, your best friend is saying, you know, let's start going to the gym together, you could start, like, that's, you know.
Being fat's not good.
So would you consider it to be like fat shaming if somebody were, if you post something and someone were to say something like, hey, you look really unhealthy in this weight, and
that's shameful. Yeah, I think it's shaming, and I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
Sometimes shaming works, I think. Like, I think it worked for me. Like, I saw people posting, and they were bigger than I was, but they were being called, like, disgusting, like, because they were too skinny.
To me, at least, it wouldn't be as harmful as if, because I know I'm skinny. I know I'm skinny. It wouldn't be as harmful if someone were to call me big or whatever.
And also, like, people usually aren't doing it for that purpose. Like, I post on social media as, like, body positive, and I get so much hate from people that aren't coming from any type of place of, like, well-being, like looking out for my well-being.
Sure,
and then
they're probably not looking out for your well-being, but do you think maybe they're
no,
looking out
it's
for
like straight
social well-being?
harassment, like, you know, and it's that's just what it is, like my experience. A lot of times I'll respond to hate comments of me like literally doing something like working out, and then I'll still get a bunch of hate comments. Like there's no end to it, and I've experienced that.
And the focus is not her body; it's literally just her working out.
It's really just to be me.
Yeah, but if you're
Have you thanked your bullies lately? I thank my bullies every time I see them. Trust. I feel like you also have to consent to that. If that's like your everything has to be consensual. If that's the way that you if that's the way that you learn things and that's the way that you grow as a person is by like doing is by like shaming yourself. Like I'm kind of like that. Like if I need to let me be careful with what I confess right now. I will like get myself into mentalities where I will shame myself for doing things because I'm like, oh my god, that's so embarrassing. Why am I doing that at my big age? Like I should not be, you know, spending time doing that. Something like that, to that effect. But I'll shame myself into it. So if you, I don't know, I feel like if you consent to that, or if you have people in your life that know that that's like the way that you respond best to things, all for it. You just gotta consent to it. It's like the Baha'i faith sentiment, God comes to you in appropriate means that will truly speak to you in that moment when you need it. Messages about weight need to follow through. Yeah, I agree. I think that should be the case for most things. Like you need to communicate with ways and with people in the ways that it's most effective to get the outcome that you want, not in the way that you think is most effective. Hey, if you ever want to piss someone off with robocalls, sign them up for the New York State blood drive, okay? These people won't leave me the fuck alone. New York State is always in a blood crisis. We're always in a drought. They will always call you. We always need blood. Too many crackheads donating. Too much blood goes bad. I'm just kidding. I have zero proof of that. It's actually really fun. I don't know if people know this. I was telling this to one of my friends the other day, and she didn't know this. You can tell that a place that you're driving around at night is ghetto if the parking lots have purple lights. Like, you 100,000% know to lock your doors, and that, like, you shouldn't, you know, shouldn't be loitering around if you see the parking lot that just, like, has, like, purple lights. Like this. Like, this is so that crackheads can't see their veins. And I love it.
Promoting particularly a body positivity content, are you not?
I am. I'm doing my makeup for work, so just reacting. Send a video if you have something better to watch.
Trying to stand in for like a cultural idea when you do that?
I mean, for me, I'm just trying to like exist and live a good life, and I don't even usually.
You have to do that by promoting body positivity.
I guess like I don't directly promote body positivity. Like I post working out, I post rollerblading, I post
and that's
whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like it's about you're looking after yourself. At the end of the day.
It's actually more about body neutrality. Like I can just do workouts, I can rollerblade, I can do what I want in my body, and I'm just showing myself doing it. I don't even have to say anything about body positivity, and someone will come for me.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's hundreds of Instagram accounts that have nothing to do with anything. Women who look just like you that get those same comments that you do. They might have nothing to do with the body positivity, body neutrality movement, but it's just because they're in those bodies, they will get those comments.
it still comes down to, is that hate? For the most part, I think what they're doing is they're finding an easy target, because weight is an easy target to poke at fun at anybody. I mean, like, hatred is such an extreme emotion to have towards someone. It sounds like you said they don't really even care about you. It's more an apathy.
It's still hate though, because it's putting the hateful idea or the hateful emotion out into the world. They don't have to know you personally.
What's the hateful emotion about saying people are fat?
Well, I feel that it's more the reaction. So it could be somebody
Funding for this program is provided by. Additional funding provided by.
Oh, no.
A handful of people would. The vast majority would turn. Let's hear first. Now we need to begin to investigate the reasons why you think it's the right thing to do. Let's begin with those in the majority who would turn to go onto the side track. Why would you do it? What would be your reason?
Oh, are these your trials, your trolleys?
Irony. The difficulty of this course consists in the fact that it teaches what you already know. It works by taking what we know from familiar unquestioned settings.
Is that Jenny Humphrey?
And making it strange. That's how those examples worked. The hypotheticals with which we began, with their mix of playfulness and sobriety. It's also how these philosophical books work. Philosophy estranges us from the familiar, not by supplying new information, but by inviting and provoking a new way of seeing. But, and here's the risk, once the familiar turns strange, it's never quite the same again. Self-knowledge is like lost innocence. However unsettling you find it, it can never be unthought or unknown. What makes this enterprise difficult, but also riveting, is that moral and political philosophy is a story, and you don't know where the story will lead, but what you do know is that the story is about you. Those are the personal risks. Now what of the political risks? One way of introducing a course like this would be to promise you that by reading these books and debating these issues, you will become a better, more responsible citizen. You will examine the presuppositions of public policy. You will hone your political judgment. You will become a more effective participant in public affairs. But this would be a partial and misleading promise. Political philosophy, for the most part, hasn't worked that.
What's surrogacy? Wait, can you link the one about libertarianism? I feel like I'm very, not very, actually, let me retract that word. I feel like I'm fairly libertarian in, well, okay, I knew that surrogacy was when you have a child that's not yours, but I didn't realize that, like, I thought it was also a legal term. Why isn't that part of your law course? Juicy. Juicy.
That way. You have to allow for the possibility that political philosophy may make you a worse citizen rather than a better one, or at least a worse citizen before it makes you a better one. And that's because philosophy is a distancing, even debilitating activity. And you see this going back to Socrates. There's a dialogue, the Gorgias, in which one of Socrates' friends, Callicles, tries to talk him out of philosophizing. Callicles tells Socrates, philosophy is a pretty toy if one indulges in it with moderation at the right time of life. But if one pursues it further than one should, it is absolute ruin. Take my advice, Callicles says. Abandon argument. Learn the accomplishments of active life. Take for your models not those people who spend their time on these petty quibbles, but those who have a good livelihood and reputation and many other blessings. So Callicles is really saying to Socrates, quit philosophizing, get real.
The case of the Queen versus Dudley and Stevens, the lifeboat case, the case of cannibalism at sea, and with the arguments about the lifeboat in mind, the arguments for and against what Dudley and Stevens did in mind, let's turn back to the philosophy, the utilitarian philosophy of Jeremy Bentham.
Bentham was born in England in 1748. At the age of 12, he went to Oxford. At 15, he went to law school. He was admitted to the bar at the age of 19, but he never practiced law. Instead, he devoted his life to jurisprudence and moral philosophy. Last time, we began to consider Bentham's version of utilitarianism. The main idea is simply stated, and it's this. The highest principle of morality, whether personal or political morality, is to maximize the general welfare, or the collective happiness, or the overall balance of pleasure over pain.
I hate that whole philosophical, I don't know, I never understood that. Because that's a very common, like, philosophical, what is the objective moral right? Well, the objective moral right is to go in the direction of, this is like Sam Harris's thing, is like to go in the direction of people's well-being. Okay, so what the fuck is well-being then? Like you're just begging the question, you're just pushing it back, like a...
In a phrase, maximize utility. Bentham arrives at this principle by the following line of reasoning. We're all governed by pain and pleasure. They are our sovereign masters, and so any moral system has to take account of them. How best to take account? By maximizing. And this leads to the principle of the greatest good for the greatest number. What exactly should we maximize? Bentham tells us happiness, or more precisely, utility. Maximizing utility is a principle not only for individuals, but also for communities and for legislators. What, after all, is a community? Bentham asks. It's the sum of the individuals who comprise it. And that's why, in deciding the best policy, in deciding what the law should be, in deciding what's just, citizens and legislators should ask themselves the question, if we add up all of the benefits of this policy and subtract all of the costs, the right thing to do is the one that maximizes the balance of happiness over suffering. That's what it means to maximize utility. Now, today, I want to see whether you agree or disagree with it. And it often goes, this utilitarian logic, under the name of cost-benefit analysis, which is used by companies and by governments all the time. And what it involves is placing a value, usually a dollar value, to stand for utility, on the costs and the benefits of various proposals. Recently in the Czech Republic, there was a proposal to increase the excise tax on smoking. Philip Morris, the tobacco company, does huge business in the Czech Republic. They commissioned a study, a cost-benefit analysis of smoking in the Czech Republic. And what their cost-benefit analysis found was the government gains by having Czech citizens smoke. Now, how do they gain? It's true that there are negative effects to the public finance of the Czech government because there are increased healthcare costs for people who develop smoking-related diseases. On the other hand, there were positive effects, and those were added up on the other side of the ledger. The positive effects included, for the most part, various tax revenues that the government derives from the sale of cigarette products, but it also included healthcare savings to the government when people die early, pension savings, you don't have to pay pensions for as long, wow, and also savings in housing costs for the elderly.
Damn.
And
objectively, it is morally right. No, I'm just kidding. Fuck the Czech. Make them all smokers.
When all of the costs and benefits were added up, the Philip Morris study found that there is a net public finance gain in the Czech Republic of $147 million. And
okay. Wait, before he continues, I feel like, is it that much of a gain if you're also gaining the risk of dying? Like if you're increasing your probability of dying? Does that not get factored into the equation at all? Just because it doesn't have a monetary value, like your increased risk of death?
Given the savings in housing and healthcare and pension costs, the government enjoys a savings of over $1,200 for each person who dies prematurely due to smoking. Cost-benefit analysis. Now, those among you who are defenders of utilitarianism may think that this is an unfair test. Philip Morris was pilloried in the press, and they issued an apology for this heartless calculation. You may say that what's missing here is something that the utilitarian can easily incorporate, namely, the value to the person and to the families of those who die from lung cancer. What about the value of life?
Oh.
Some cost-benefit analyses incorporate a measure.
He got me.
For the value of life. One of the most famous of these involved the Ford Pinto case. Did any of you read about that? This was back in the 1970s. Do you remember what the Ford Pinto was, that kind of car? Anybody?
Do you remember? How fucking old is this?
It was a small car, a subcompact car, very popular. But it had one problem, which is the fuel tank was at the back of the car. And in rear collisions, the fuel tank exploded.
And some people were killed, and some severely injured. Victims of these injuries took Ford to court to sue. And in the court case, it turned out that Ford had long since known about the vulnerable fuel tank and had done a cost-benefit analysis to determine whether it would be worth it to put in a special shield that would protect the fuel tank and prevent it from exploding. They did a cost-benefit analysis. The cost per part
Hunter was explaining this to me before, where it's like, is it morally acceptable? Was it morally acceptable for them to just like go and let the fucking the bad cars out there because it saved them more money in the lawsuits than it would have been to recall the cars and put all of the safety features in? It's fucking crazy.
Increase the safety of the Pinto. They calculated at $11 per part.
No one in my chat be better getting excited about Luigi Mangione right now. Leave the chat immediately.
And this was the cost-benefit analysis that emerged in the trial. $11 per part at 12.5 million cars and trucks came to a total cost of $137 million to improve the safety. But then they calculated the benefits of spending all this money on a safer car. And they counted 180 deaths, and they assigned a dollar value, $200,000 per death. 180 injuries, $67,000. And then the cost to repair, the replacement cost for 2,000 vehicles that would be destroyed without the safety device, $700 per vehicle. So the benefits turned out to be only $49.5 million, and so they didn't install the device. Needless to say, when this memo of the Ford Motor Company's cost-benefit analysis came out in the trial, it appalled the jurors who awarded a huge settlement. Is this a counterexample to the utilitarian idea of calculating? Because Ford included a measure of the value of life. Now, who here wants to defend cost-benefit analysis from this apparent counterexample? Who?
I'll defend it. I think Ford, as a private company, has every right to put a cost-benefit analysis on its consumer base, the same way that insurance companies do that, in the same way that you have to account for that when you're on an airline, right? Like, casualties happen, things happen, shit happens, you have to be able to account for it. The fact that they accounted for it, and then you can disagree with the decision that they made, but I don't think that was the question that he asked. I think he just asked if they should be allowed.
Wants to defend cost-benefit analysis from this apparent counterexample?
Yeah, like the cost-benefit analysis was fine. The decision that they made from it could be questionable. Cost-benefit analysis was fine.
Who has a defense? Or do you think this completely destroys the whole utilitarian calculus? Yes.
Okay, well, I think that, once again, they made the same mistake the previous case did, that they assigned a dollar value to human life, and once again, they failed to take account things like suffering and emotional losses by the families. I mean, families lost earnings, but they also lost a loved one, and that is more valued than $200,000.
Right, and wait, that's good. What's your name?
Julie.
Wait, but so what's the value? Is it $300,000? Is it $400,000? What's the value? Because then you're just arguing the arbitrary number. You're not actually arguing like whether or not the cost is not like, okay, so they can do a cost-benefit analysis, but they can do it so long as it properly compensates all of the families for their emotional distress. I feel like the $200,000 would have done that.
Roto.
So 200,000, Julie, is too low a figure because it doesn't include the loss of a loved one and the loss of those years of life. What do you think would be a more accurate number?
Got him.
I don't believe I could give a number. I think that this sort of analysis shouldn't be applied to issues of human life. I think it can't be used.
So that was your contention. We shouldn't be putting a value. We shouldn't be putting a monetary price on human life. Okay, so how do you proceed in the real world doing that? Because it's a great sentiment that life is valuable and life is precious, but in the real world, we do understand that there are objectively situations where you have to make monetary alignment, right? Does that make sense? Say the family was paid out $5 million. Would it be justified to Yeah, exactly. How much is it?
Monetarily.
So they didn't just put too low a number, Julie says. They were wrong to try to put any number at all.
Julie.
All right, let's hear someone who you have to adjust for inflation.
Insanity. That was so goated. You do have to adjust for inflation.
All right, fair enough. So what would the number be now? This was 35 years ago. $2 million. You would put 2 million. And what's your name? Wojtek says, we have to allow for inflation. We should be more generous. Then would you be satisfied that this is the right way of thinking about the question?
I guess, unfortunately, it is, where there needs to be a number put somewhere. Like, I'm not sure what that number would be, but I do agree that there could possibly be a number put on human life.
All right, so Wojtek says,
baited.
And here he disagrees with Julie. Julie says we can't put a number on human life for the purpose of a cost-benefit analysis. Wojtek says we have to, because we have to make decisions somehow. What do other people?
Like, I'm glad that people have always been like this. Like, this is, we can't just keep supporting this two-party system that doesn't help us. How are you going to fix that? How are you single-handedly voting for Jill Stein going to fix that? We can't put a price on human life. Okay, how are you going to fix that, Julie?
Well, so think about this. Is there anyone prepared to defend cost-benefit analysis here? As accurate, as desirable? Yes? Go ahead.
I think that if Ford and other car companies didn't use cost-benefit analysis, they'd eventually go out of business because they wouldn't be able to be profitable, and millions of people wouldn't be able to use their cars to get to jobs, to put food on the table, to feed their children. So I think that if cost-benefit analysis isn't...
Insurance is a different story than purposely letting people die for money. I feel like that's a dishonest way to frame what happened. What happened was Ford was facing, or whatever this company was facing a decision. They got made aware that there was a safety issue, and that the safety issue was either going to cost X amount of dollars to fix or Y amount of dollars to deal with. In the same way that, you know, you crash your car and it's like it's going to be X amount of dollars to fix it, or it's going to be Y amount of dollars to get a new one, or it's going to, like, I don't know. I feel like that's, it's not, we're purposely letting people die, and we're gonna intentionally send out cars that are killing people. It's like we have a choice. It's either going to be X amount of dollars to deal with it, X amount of dollars to fix it, or Y amount of dollars to deal with it. It's an unethical choice that they made, I think.
...isn't employed, the greater good is sacrificed in this case.
All right, let me add, what's your name?
Raul.
Raul. There was recently a study done about cell phone use by drivers when people are driving a car, and there's a debate whether that should be banned.
Yeah.
And the figure was that some 2,000 people die as a result of accidents each year using cell phones. And yet, the cost-benefit analysis, which was done by the Center for Risk Analysis at Harvard, found that if you look at the benefits of the cell phone use and you put some value on the line, it comes out about the same. Because of the enormous economic benefit of enabling people to take advantage of their time, not waste time, be able to make deals and talk to friends and so on while they're driving. Doesn't that suggest that it's a mistake to try to put monetary figures on questions of human life?
Well, I think that if the great majority of people try to derive maximum utility out of a service like using cell phones and the convenience that cell phones provide, that sacrifice is necessary for satisfaction to occur.
You're an outright utilitarian.
Yes. Okay. Out of a service like using cell phones.
And yet, the cost-benefit analysis, which was done by the Center for Risk Analysis at Harvard, found that if you look at the benefits of the cell phone use and you put some value on the line, it comes out about the same. Because of the enormous economic benefit of enabling people to take advantage of their time, not waste time, be able to make deals and talk to friends and so on while they're driving. Doesn't that suggest that it's a mistake to try to put monetary figures on questions of human life?
Well, I think that if the great majority of people try to derive maximum utility out of a service like using cell phones and the convenience that cell phones provide, that sacrifice is necessary for satisfaction to occur.
You're an outright utilitarian.
Wait, what am I missing? What did he said there was a study that got found out that phones actually make you
and talk to friends and so on while they're driving. Doesn't that suggest it comes out, the cost-benefit analysis, which was done by the Center for Risk Analysis at Harvard, found that if you look at the benefits of the cell phone use and you put some value on the live, it comes out about the same. Because of the enormous economic benefit of enabling people to take advantage of their time, not waste time, be able to make deals and talk to friends and so on while they're driving. Doesn't that suggest that it's a mistake to try to put monetary figures on questions of human life?
Well, I think that if the great majority of people try
so on, and you put some value on the live, it comes out about the same. Because of the enormous economic benefit of enabling people to take advantage of their time, not waste time, be able to make deals and talk to friends and so on while they're driving. Doesn't that suggest that it's a mistake to try to put monetary figures on questions of human life?
Well, I think that if the great majority of people try to derive maximum utility
So he's saying everyone should be always using their phone on the on the road, and that even if it increases people's death rate, that it would actually make it more productive because they would be making more deals on the phone.
Out of a service like using cell phones and the convenience that cell phones provide, that sacrifice is necessary for satisfaction to occur.
You're an outright utilitarian.
Yes. Okay.
All right, then one last question, Raoul.
Okay.
And I put this to Wojtek. What dollar figure should be put on human life to decide whether to ban the use of cell phones?
Well, I don't want to arbitrarily calculate a figure. I mean, right now, I think that...
But I will at a later date.
Yeah, I'll take it.
But what, roughly speaking, would it be? You've got 2,300 deaths.
Okay.
You've got to assign a dollar value to know whether you want to prevent those deaths by banning the use of cell phones in cars.
Okay.
So what would your hunch be? How much? $1 million? $2 million? $2 million was Wojtek's figure.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Maybe $1 million.
$1 million?
Yeah.
Not 2 million.
You know, that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
So these are some of the controversies that arise these days from cost-benefit analysis, especially those that involve placing a dollar value on everything to be added up. Well, now I want to turn to your objections, not necessarily to cost-benefit analysis specifically, because that's just one version of the utilitarian logic in practice today, but to the theory as a whole, to the idea that the right thing to do, the just basis for policy and law, is to maximize utility. How many disagree with the utilitarian approach to law and to the common good? How many agree with it? So more agree than disagree. So let's hear from the critics. Yes?
My main issue with it is that I feel like you can't say that just because someone's in the minority, what they want and need is less valuable than someone who's in the majority. So I guess I have an issue with the idea that the greatest good for the greatest number is...
Who's talking about minority? Oh.
Okay, because there's still what about people who are in the lesser number? Like, it's not fair to them. They didn't have any say in where they wanted to be.
All right,
that's what a democracy is, babe.
Interesting objection. You're worried about the effect on the minority.
Yes.
What's your name, by the way?
Anna.
Who has an answer to Anna's worry about the effect on the minority? What do you say to Anna?
She said that the minorities value less. I don't think that's the case because individually the minority's value is just the same as the individual of the majority. It's just that the numbers outweigh the minority. And I mean, at a certain point you have to make a decision. And I'm sorry for the minority, but sometimes it's for the greater good.
For the greater good. Anna, what do you say? What's your name?
Youngda.
What do you say to Youngda? Youngda says you just have to add up people's preferences, and those in the minority do have their preferences weighed. Can you give an example of the kind of thing you're worried about when you say you're worried about utilitarianism violating the concern or respect due the minority? Can you give an example?
So, well, with any of the cases...
Also, like, what, the minority versus majority on what? Why are we assuming that these are going to be, like, diametrically opposed, like, opposites? What if it's the majority wants, like, pepperoni on their pizza and then the minority wants ham? All right, I'm sure that they probably wanted pepperoni, but, like, they'll live. They'll be fine.
That we've talked about, like for the shipwreck one, I think the boy who was eaten still had as much of a right to live as the other people, and just because he was the minority in that case, the one who maybe had less of a chance to keep living, that doesn't mean that the others automatically have a right to eat him just because it would give a greater amount of people the chance to live. Others automatically have a right to eat him just because to keep living. That doesn't mean a minority, in that case, the one who maybe had less of a chance to keep living. That doesn't mean that the others automatically have a right to eat him just because it would give a greater amount of people the chance to live.
Doesn't it? The way that she worded that is weird. Have a right to eat him. Okay, obviously they don't have a right to like be a cannibal, but they have a right to survive, right? Like they have a right to live. They have a right to like do do by any means necessary what is needed to continue to live.
In that case, the one who maybe had less of a chance to keep living, that doesn't mean that the others automatically have a right to eat him just because it would give a greater amount of people the chance to live.
So.
Yeah, I know she's referencing, you told me about this boat example, but I don't, like, the right that would be given there wouldn't be like, oh yeah, like these guys have the right to just like kill and eat someone. It's just like they have the right to survive, and then as a means of surviving, they are doing the killing and the eating. Like that, just the way that she framed it.
There may be certain rights that the minority members have, that the individual has, that shouldn't be traded off for the sake of utility. Yes, yes, Anna? This would be a test for you. Back in ancient Rome, they threw Christians to the lions in the Colosseum for sport. If you think how the utilitarian calculus would go.
Would their right to survive infringe on someone else's rights to live? That's where survival of the fittest comes in, because that other guy also has the right to live, but if that other guy has the right to live and he's not exercising it because he's too ill to physically move, then I mean, kind of sucks for that guy.
Yes, the Christian thrown to the lion suffers enormous, excruciating pain. But look at the collective ecstasy of the Romans. Yonder.
Well, in that time, I don't, in modern day of time, to value to give a number to the happiness given to the people watching, I don't think any policymaker would say the pain of the suffering of one person is much, in comparison to the happiness gained.
No, but you have to admit that if there were enough Romans delirious enough with happiness, it would outweigh even the most excruciating pain of a handful of Christians thrown to the lion. So we really have here two different objections to utilitarianism. One has to do with whether utilitarianism adequately respects individual rights or minority rights, and the other has to do with the whole idea of aggregating utility or preferences or values adequately respects full of
one person is much. Value to give that time.
Yeah. But look at the collective ecstasy of the Romans. Utility? Yes, yes, Anna? This would be a test for you. Back in ancient Rome, they threw Christians to the lions in the Colosseum for sport. If you think how the utilitarian calculus would go, yes, the Christian thrown to the lion suffers enormous, excruciating pain. But look at the collective ecstasy of the Romans. Yonder.
Well, in that time, I don't, in modern day of time, to value to give a number to the happiness given to the people watching, I don't think any policymaker would say the pain of the suffering of one person is much, in comparison to the happiness gained.
No, but you have to admit that if there were enough Romans delirious enough with happiness, it would outweigh even the most excruciating pain of a handful of Christians thrown to the lion. So,
very true. Very true. I think my framework for the world would say that if the Romans grew up seeing that and they all think that it's like fine, then it's like a moral neutral. There's actually kind of like nothing wrong with that.
So we really have here two different objections to utilitarianism. One has to do with whether utilitarianism adequately respects individual rights or minority rights, and the other has to do with the whole idea of aggregating utility or preferences or values. Is it possible to aggregate all values to translate them into dollar terms? There was, in the 1930s, a psychologist who tried to address this second question. He tried to prove what utilitarianism assumes, that it is possible to translate all goods, all values, all human concerns into a single uniform measure. And he did this by conducting a survey of young recipients of relief. This was in the 1930s. And he asked them, he gave them a list of unpleasant experiences. And he asked them, how much would you have to be paid to undergo the following experiences? And he kept track. For example, how much would you have to be paid to have one upper front tooth pulled out? Or how much would you have to be paid to have one little toe cut off? Or to eat a live earthworm 6 inches long? or to live the rest of your life on a farm in Kansas, or to choke a stray cat to death with your bare hands. Now, what do you suppose was the most expensive item on that list? Kansas? You're right, it was Kansas. For Kansas, people said they'd have to pay them, they'd have to be paid $300,000. What do you think was the next most expensive? Not the cat. Not the tooth. Not the toe. The worm. People said you'd have to pay them $100,000 to eat the worm. What do you think was the least expensive item? Not the cat. The tooth. During the Depression, people were willing to have their tooth pulled for only $4,500. Now, here's what Thorndike concluded from his study. Any want or satisfaction which exists in some amount and is therefore measurable. The life of a dog, or a cat, or a chicken consists of appetites, cravings, desires, and their gratifications. So does the life of human beings, though the appetites and desires are more complicated. But what about Thorndike's study? Does it support Bentham's idea that all goods, all values can be captured according to a single uniform measure of value? Or does the preposterous character of those different items on the list suggest the opposite conclusion, that maybe, whether we're talking about life or Kansas or the worm, maybe the things we value and cherish can't be captured according to a single uniform measure of value? And if they can't, what are the consequences for the utilitarian theory of morality? That's a question we'll continue with next time.
What? All right, I have to go to work, but I'm confused by this, like, boat thing. Am I missing something, or am I just, like, really fucked that I really don't see anything wrong with it? Like, why couldn't they eat him? If he could have fought them off, then he would have had every right to fight them off and kill them and, like, push them off the boat. But, like, why can't they just eat him? Yeah, he didn't consent to it, but... I think saying that, the argument that, like, he's infectious and they would need to, like, kill him to save themselves, that doesn't even need to be made. Like, they could have just confused. They can't just snipe him? Nah, you're psychotic. Oh, okay. Cool. Cool. It's meant to draw the limits of morality versus... Well, obviously it's illegal. I mean, I would hope it's illegal. Infectious part is irrelevant. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that it's a moral neutral. Like, everyone in that situation. In the boat thing, what the students thought was wrong was the process of choosing the victim. Because he was sick, I feel like that's a fine process. Like, you're the most likely to die, you're sick, you're ill anyways, you're unable to defend yourself. Sucks to suck. Like, if we were to detach everyone from the situation, it would be like 3 people in a room. Like, what? Okay, if, like, this is such a good, like, organ donation example, right? Like, if you have a guy in a hospital bed that's gonna die, and then you have, like, 3 patients in the hospital that are matches for the guy's organs, and the guy's brain dead, and someone were to go in there and pull the plug, Yeah, that's illegal. But like that, but I get it. But like that's a moral neutral. If it's a nurse, 100% ethical, moral wrong. But like if it's like one of the family members of the guy that's like about to get surgery, or one of the guys who needs the transplant, and like you pull the plug, like I feel like that's fine. A moral neutral. That's not legal, obviously, but like that seems like such a moral neutral. Yeah, I don't know. Alright. Got a blast, guys. How are we liking... Actually, no. I'm not even gonna ask because I know it's like just so much more amazing. The new computer setup. It's doing so well. I think yesterday I was on stream for like 6 hours. And this never went past 20. Goated as fuck. Alright. Peace out, guys. See you later.